Maybe that's, I'm surprised as long as he was there, he didn't take a picture of my mother's.
Ready, Gary?
Anytime you are, I get 1 minute.
Yeah, I got a shy of a minute. Just
I'll start early. Yeah, there.
there we go. Time being 6 o'clock, I'll call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Patty.
Wanda,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
Sherry,
Here.
Don,
Here.
Joe.
Here. Quorum present. This time, would anybody care to declare a financial or non-financial conflict of interest?
I have none.
None.
I have none.
I have none.
Okay. Before we approve the agenda, I do have one thing I'd like to add. I don't know if 15A makes sense, but we'd like to have discussion on overtime specific to Department of Equalization office.
A.
15A seems like that would fit there. Any more additions or corrections?
Move
Okay.
to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. At this time, would anybody in the audience care to come forward to make a public comment? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. We will move, do we have to be right at 6:05 for this, Patty?
Yes.
So we're gonna hold on that transfer for the liquor license. Mike, do you wanna come forward? Get you here and out? So we've got approval to advertise for truck bid and then a big grant application.
So, going back to the spring, we had an accident with our one truck. It ended up totaled. I found a truck, looked at it, but we do need to go back out for bid for it. So I'm just looking for a motion and approval to rebid.
For a dump truck?
Yep, plow truck and dump.
Okay.
Let's make a motion to advertise for truck bid.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next is to apply for big grant funds, again, for the Stone Church Bridge. I don't know if you guys have looked through the packet, but the estimated cost, replacement cost, again, construction costs have gone up quite a bit. We are now looking at $10.9 million. Our low bid was 8.7 earlier this year. And then the next was 10.5 and then 12.5. So we're actually applying for, hoping to get 6.2 additional, along with our 3.1. I know that doesn't add up to the 8 million cap, but if you go through and read through the big grant rules, page 10 of it, limiting amounts. It says no LPA may be awarded more than 8 million in total big funds unless the big portion of a single structure exceeds this amount. Well, this is a single structure. Then also the Director of Planning and Engineering may recommend that the Transportation Commission adjust the limiting amounts prior to each selection process. So hopefully we can go for the full amount.
Who's the director that can do that?
I don't know which one is the director up there.
Can you find that out? Let me know.
Even at that said, if you look at the grant application paperwork, so the local match and the grant funds, we're looking at getting the 80-20 together would end up being 7.759 million. Then you go over and look at this is one thing that they did add to the grant application now, is 15% overall project contingency. That was not allowed before, and the way things have been going in the past year, they did put a spot on there for that now. So,
Mike, on this letter from Colton Strahl, it lists 5 things that the counties are responsible for in addition to the 20%, which includes the right-of-way and temporary and permanent easements, coordination of any utility adjustments, furnish and install final surfacing, which I would think would cost some bucks, furnish and install temporary and or permanent fencing, furnish and install new and permanent signing. Do we have an estimate on what that's going to cost?
so the signing, we would have that already. The utilities, we've checked into that since we've already applied, or not applied, but bid let. So we had to coordinate all that. The way it sounds is the one utility company would have to move theirs, which would work. We wouldn't have to move utilities on both sides. And the one utility company is in our right-of-way, so therefore they are responsible for moving out of our right-of-way. So there's the cost there is taken care of. The surfacing is something that we can take care of ourselves. Yes,
But
there's
it's
still a cost.
It's a cost. Couple $100,000.
No, I wouldn't say quite that much, no.
You talk about like paving after we're done?
Right. Because the dirt work is included in that.
Did we ever apply for a James River grant for this bridge
We did for the design,
design?
and we did get it, and we're already reimbursed on that.
Maybe apply for some like erosion control and things like that. I know, see what we can get, to help out with that too. We're gonna need every penny for this one.
Right.
Gonna be close.
Any more questions regarding the application?
So am I reading right that it's almost an $11 million estimate this time?
Correct.
And now the county's responsible still for 20% of the 11 million?
We're gonna be on the hook for 2.6, 2.7.
Plus this other.
Right. Plus the paving.
Well, why isn't that to Don's point, is that never included in these estimates for bridge improvement grants, or is it just?
The bridge improvement grant is just for the bridge itself.
Okay. It
Outside of
doesn't
that,
cover that?
it's not covered.
Okay.
So if I remember correctly, our capital, the general fund has assigned 1.5 million for Jim River bridges. So that will have to be dealt with next year if we get this approved.
Right. And if we apply and get what we're asking for, our goal would be to bid let it right away to get it on the plan for next fall or 2024, and try to get a price locked in ASAP so we don't end up with a big difference in price again.
So are you looking for a motion?
Yes, we need a motion to approve the bid.
The bid
Or
or
the,
the
not the bid,
application?
the application, sorry.
I would move to approve the application for a big grant.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the application. Further discussion.
Also add on there, it'd be bridge number 68030018.
Say that one more time, please.
68-030-018.
Do you want that in the motion? Right, then I would amend my motion to make a motion to approve the big grant for Bridge 68-030-018.
Second.
Restate of the motion. You don't want to amend it, just restate it.
Okay, you want me to do it a third time?
No, just for Patty's clarification, amending is much different than restating.
Okay, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Mike.
Alrighty, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, time being 6:11, we will move back to item 5, approve liquor license transfer.
Hey, Luke.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Luke McAllister. I'm here on behalf of McAllister TD LLC, and we're seeking approval for a on-sale liquor license transfer from Hebda Family Produce. I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Now you guys are gonna have is it a bar or a restaurant, or what,
Yep.
what are you gonna have out
Yep,
at that area?
a bar restaurant at
Okay.
3804 West 8th Street.
Okay. When do you plan on opening that?
It would probably be around February of next year.
Okay.
For the whole thing or just the convenience store part?
Fire and Ice LLC is a separate entity that will be opening a grocery store at the same address. But the bar restaurant will be on the side. opening
West
at a-
side?
At a later date, yeah. Yep.
So when is Fire and Ice LLC opening
Uh,
their project?
Probably early mid-January, hopefully, if things go well, yep.
Any more questions for the applicant?
No.
I'd entertain a motion.
No,
Uh,
public comment.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Would anybody care to make public comment on this transfer at this time? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. Bring it back to the board.
I'd move approval of the transfer.
I'll second that motion.
Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Thank
Luke.
Good luck to you.
Okay, item 7, leadership training. Mr. Gulick, please come forward. Do you need the projector on at all? Or?
I have a few slides that I can put up there if that.
Yeah.
Your guess is as good as ours.
Gary, do you know how to set this computer up? Lift it up? I didn't think they had to warm up anymore, but maybe they do.
Yeah, you can leave that in.
There should be one. There we got
And I have handouts here as well if you want to follow.
Thank you.
That goes into more detail than the slides that I've got.
Pass that. Thank you.
Yes, I think I got one. Back in late 2020, RTEC we formed the partnership with Northeast Community College out of Norfolk earlier than that, but we formed the partnership specifically to deliver leadership training in late 2020. Did 2 sessions in 2021, and we've done 3 sessions with them in 2022. The leadership skills training, as it was originally designed, was geared towards manufacturers who many times in manufacturing, folks get promoted into supervisory positions, not necessarily based on their people skills, but more on their mechanical skills. And many of the manufacturers in the area didn't have the resources to offer that training. And so RTEC developed a program in partnership with Northeast Community College to try and deliver that training to supervisors. Excuse me. So it's a 6-week course, 3 hours a day, once a week for 6 weeks. It focuses on the development of leadership skills through basically 3 things: identifying the different leadership styles that a person has, developing the ability to problem solve, and then building effective teams, effective and efficient teams. The course content, which is defined in detail in the handouts that you have, this basically just covers the title of the content covered in each of the 6 weeks. The first week is understanding leadership style. They go through a DISC behavioral assessment 2 weeks prior to the class starting, so that can get submitted and the results compiled a week before the first session. The second week focuses on yesterday's peer, tomorrow's leader. Helps people new in supervisory positions make that transition from being a coworker or a peer to performing the duties of a supervisor. The third session focuses on brainstorming and problem solving. 4th session on conflict management. The 5th session on team building, and the 6th session on just the basics of coaching. As I mentioned earlier, there's 6 sessions, they're 3 hours each. The courses that we offer for the public are generally Wednesday afternoons. We've tried a couple different things. We've tried running from noon till 3, and we've tried running from 1 till 4. Future courses will probably run from 1 till 4, unless we get feedback saying that there's something else that's that's more desirable. In addition to that, we've done some custom course scheduling. For instance, we just recently completed a course just for the Yankton Medical Clinic, where they took all of their supervisory personnel through a modified version of this program. They went 8 weeks rather than 6. They added two additional sessions. And we held those on site at the Yankton Medical Clinic. Don is on our board of directors with RTEC, and so he asked me to present this to you, with the thought being that supervisory personnel within the county organization would attend in groups of 2 or 3. And so I included the pricing for the public course, which is $1,850 per student. If we were to design a custom session just for county personnel, obviously we may price that differently, and depending on the course content and what you might be looking for. But with the proposition being maybe 2 of the leadership personnel from the county office attending each of the session, we would price that at $1,850 per student. And I would entertain any questions you might have about the training.
I want to make a statement before the questions. I've been attending the RTEC board meetings for a couple, 3, 4 years, I don't know. And they're really working to meet community needs, I think, in all areas. And this is one of the areas that leadership training came up. And as Monty said, there's been successful classes for 2 years now, and it just, looking at the 7 or 8 items for presentation on a weekly basis, our people need those skills. They need to be brought. I mean, when I worked in my job, we had training every year. Sometimes it's more than once a year. And there's so much going on in business today that I think our people would really perform better, enjoy their work, and have better collaboration between teams if we were to engage in this. So.
What are your average class sizes when you do the public?
I would say average is probably 16. We cap it at 20.
Okay.
And I think the smallest class we've had was 14. And so we're typically in that 15 to 20 range.
Okay, that's about right. And they're all at the RTEC building, the public ones?
Yes, in general. So that's kind of evolved as well. The first time that we offered it was during COVID, and so we did some of them remotely or via Teams or Zoom. The second class we offered, we held them in one of the conference rooms out at Jodine's, just because the Yankton, we leased space from the Yankton School District, and they weren't opening up the facility yet, and so we found a place off-site. Since then, they've all been held at RTEC. And the plan is to hold them at RTEC in the future.
That's what I wanted to know.
When's your next class?
The next, I was hoping I'd have an answer to that question today. The date of the next class. We're hoping to start at mid-January, but we don't have that date set yet. So it'll either be the 3rd week in January, sometime between the 3rd week in January and the 2nd week in February, we will start, and then we'll go 6 consecutive weeks. Northeast is still waiting to hear back from the instructor, his availability to come on Wednesday afternoons.
I know we've had at least one county employee go through the NACO leadership training, and I do believe that is almost exactly the same cost, and that's all online, which, positive, negative for online training, just to give you an idea of the cost per se.
I think that's geared toward county government, you know, as well. I've heard good things about that one, but any leadership training is good for our employees, you know, especially the deputies who are stepping into a role like that, so.
So if we can't make the January one, I assume you run it 2 or 3 times a year?
Yeah, so last year we did it 3, we attempted 4, and we only had 4 people sign up for that 4th session, so we have to have at least 6 people to hold the course,
Okay,
just to make it financially feasible for us.
yeah.
And we only had 4 register the last time, so we'll do it at least twice in 2023, and if there's enough interest, we'll do 3.
Okay.
So what happens if you miss one of the weeks?
So we've been very fortunate. The instructor that we've used to teach the course has been willing for those people that have missed a class to reach out for them between weeks and make sure that they get the content that they need. It's probably most critical that they're at the first one. If somebody misses the first one, we probably want to consider maybe sending them to the next class, because the 5 sessions following that first one kind of build on that DISC assessment. And so if they're going to miss that one, we might recommend waiting till the next course. But if they miss one of the future sessions, the instructor has been very good about reaching out and making that one-on-one contact in between.
Well, I think it'd be a good idea to at least start generating interest from department heads who would do it, and a commissioner or 2 probably wouldn't hurt to sit in on a class like this either.
Thank you,
So I-
appreciate it.
Yeah. Is there any other questions, I guess, before we? I think that's probably the right thing to do, though, is we'll get some feedback from employees and see what kind of interest we might have, and Don, you wanna just be the contact?
Yep.
Okay,
I think it's a good service you guys are offering to the community with this. It's a good thing.
Thanks, Bonnie.
yeah, thank you. We're gonna go into, don't feel rushed, but we're gonna go into item 8, 4-H youth program. So Oakley, if you wanna. And you can leave that on, that's fine, yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone. Mr. Chairman, thank you for having me. Thank you to the whole commission for having me this evening. I'm going to give you a folder. There's 6 of y'all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hey, I can count.
Perfect. Thank you.
So first and foremost, again, I'm Oakley G. Perry. I'm from our state 4-H office in Brookings. I hope y'all love 4-H. I know I sure do. You know, we make a great impact in young people across the state of South Dakota. Shameless plug, we are the largest youth development program in the state of South Dakota, reaching nearly 22%, I believe, of our state's eligible population. So in that sense, we do good work. What I want to talk to y'all a little bit about today is moving forward with 4-H here in Yankton County. So a brief history lesson. Prior to 2011, the structure of extension in South Dakota was very different than what we have today. And so that structure changed due to state budget cuts, and we had to, what we call, reorganize or restructure South Dakota extension. And at that time, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, Yankton County did not necessarily want to have a full-time 4-H advisor from SDSU, But SDSU sort of said, well, we think you need it. So this partnership has occurred where y'all have basically 1 day a week or 20% of a 4-H advisor from SDSU, and the county has then hired someone, a county paid individual, who is currently Katie Dottie, to sort of take up that slack. So as population has continued to grow in our southeastern side of the state, especially Union and Clay counties, that has become less and less possible for our SDSU funded position, which is currently Lauren Hollenbeck, to still take on Yankton County along with Clay and Union counties. So at this point in time, we are wanting to drop Lauren Hollenbeck's service area of Yankton County and move her solely to be Clay and Union counties. You already have a county hired full-time person, Katie Dottie, who is doing that work already. Based on the population of the county, from our end, we see no need to try to fill a role of Lauren. One person should be plenty enough in that educational role to meet the needs of the county size. So that's the 30,000 foot level of what I want to talk about. I'm happy to entertain any questions or go more in detail about what's in your packet here before we move forward.
And her current schedules, I don't remember off the top of my head, it's like 1 day a week or 1 day
Yeah,
every 2
usually
weeks or
Fridays,
so.
I believe. Is that right, Lauren?
Oh, it-
Just depends.
oh,
Okay.
I
1 day a
didn't see you
week.
back there.
Do Clay County and Union County have county 4-H people that they've hired?
I mean, they have extension support staff.
Okay.
All counties have to pay for
Do they
support
have, do
staff.
they have county, county paid for 4-H
So like
advisors
Katie
like we
Dottie?
do? Yeah.
No, neither Clay or Union
Yeah.
County have
See,
that.
I guess that's what I kind of see as an issue is since Yankton County was proactive and, supporting of the 4-H program, now we're losing you guys as service?
We're
I
not
mean,
losing
well,
us.
you're-
I mean,
well,
we
you're
still.
you want to change the area though.
Sure,
To
yeah.
Clay and Union, I guess. And I guess I don't know if that's gonna be a good thing for our 4-H program.
Sure, understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Is
most
it,
certainly
is it
reason to
state
have.
funding or is it SDSU funding? What is the reason?
Sure, so we have limited state funding that
Sure.
comes from state legislature,
Mm-hmm.
pardon me. And so we currently do not have the funding for any other FTEs. If this is something that Yankton County wanted to investigate in the future, we most certainly would be willing to come in and talk about that. That's
Yeah.
completely up to you all.
Yeah, I guess I remember last year, didn't the state say they had $100 million of funds left over? I guess I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't want to support this good program in Yankton County.
Sure. Well, all I know, Commissioner, is that we have an allocated budget. If the state
Sure.
has a surplus left over, it doesn't necessarily come to extension in 4-H. I wish it did.
Unfortunately,
It'd be
yes,
a great world
It doesn't
for
come
us.
to the counties either, so,
Sure.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, we could hire a lot of people with that, right?
Be good for the kids, that's for sure.
Yeah. In your packet on the left side is what's the word? Our proposed, there we go, memorandum of understanding with Yankton County. This allows the county to hire Katie Dottie continually and allows 4-H to continue in Yankton County and the county to use the name, emblem, and clover of the 4-H program in Yankton County. On the right side of the packet rather, you see the cost share for fiscal year 2023 for SDSU funded positions. There's the county office services chart. Sometimes county commissioners have questions on who does what in the county office. All this changes a little bit. Each county has their own dynamic, but this is just a general guide. And that last page, this is what we call 4 buckets document, but this is just basically the different jobs that the 4-H Youth Program Advisor does in the county. So just a little bit of information there for you.
What's the membership of, what is the membership of the 4-H clubs in Yankton County?
Sure, I'm not quite sure. Do you all know? 122 members and 50 volunteers. Danielle,
Danielle, is this something that they've they talked about for a while, or is this, you know, I guess when did it come up that they wanted to drop this area?
They just discussed it with us here, well, when we got on the agenda for this meeting, so
Okay.
that's when I found out about it.
Do you want to come forward at all, Danielle? Do you have anything to say either way?
Or our at-home viewers.
I mean, Lauren is a great asset to our county, but she comes in to help Katie. So Katie does the majority of the program in Yankton County. She's the one that's full-time here. And Lauren comes in to aid her in different programs. And that's not stating that she still won't come over and help us. I mean, as extension, we all work together. Different parts of the state, we help each other where needed. So, this is a better fit for Lauren, and so I understand that. Like, if I didn't have to drive to 3 different towns every week, I wouldn't either. So, I mean, it's a great thing for her, and Katie can definitely handle. There won't be a lot of extra workload for her. A few reports that she'll have to do that are state mandated is all. So, I don't know if you have any questions for me.
So it's 2011 when there was consolidation, this used to be a full-time SDSU person that was here, correct?
It's never,
Or
it hasn't been, we've been a county paid, I've been here for 22 years,
Okay.
and the 22 years I've been here, it's always
Sure.
been county paid.
Yeah.
We never had, well, I shouldn't say never. There was a period of time we had a state person that was in our office during the restructuring, but it was a very small period of time. But it's always been county paid. Our Yankton has always been very proactive in that, and they wanted to make sure that 4-H stayed in the county, so.
What is the timing on decisions? Because none of this was in the packet, so we couldn't do any research as far as how many kids Union has, how many kids Clay has, what those 2 counties put toward their 4-H, and really to analyze, to Dan's point, the fairness of all of it and the balancing act from the state.
Sure. So in terms of timeline, this will take effect with Lauren being just in Union and Clay County starting January 1st. So both Clay County and Union County have already approved this. We'll be moving forward on that end. In terms of membership and all, I can't tell you exact numbers. However, in our state, when you remove Pennington County and Minnehaha County, the only other county 4-H advisor who has more of a workload currently is Wendy Sweeter in Lincoln County. That makes Lauren the 2nd highest workload in the entire state. So in that sense, that's part of the reason why we're wanting to do this. I mean, it's just too much for one person to do. I wouldn't do this job. Just to be quite blunt and honest with you, there is no way I would come and I would cross 3 different counties, as much as I love 4-H, and work with 3 different county commissioners, 3 different leaders associations, 3 different fairs. No way I would do this job. So kudos to her for trying to do it and doing it well, I might add. But it's time to make a change. It's just unsustainable at this point in time.
So do those 2 counties give you any reimbursement for her time?
Yes, so all counties have to do a cost share for SDSU funded positions. So both counties pay, it's in this packet right here. They are moving to option E on that packet. Both counties in fiscal year 23 will pay $10,884.79. For this current fiscal year that we are ending, Yankton County was paying $4,227.31.
But that was, excuse me, that was for a part-time
Yeah, that was just for one day.
4-H.
Yeah.
That's like subparagraph F.
Just for maybe to provide some more information on what Dan and Sherry have talked about. So how many members are in Union County and how many 4-H members are in Clay County?
Sure, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head.
Somebody answered how many were in Yankton County. That's what I asked.
I did.
Danielle
It was
did.
around 122. It was actually in your snapshot. that they put in your packets from earlier. Lauren did like a 4-H
Oh.
thing that was in there.
It was.
I want to say it's right around 122. It depends from the.
In
year to
each
year.
of those counties?
In Yankton.
That's
I
yeah.
don't know Clay and Union. I don't know.
Well, see, I'm wondering why.
Is that
Yankton.
Lauren back there?
Yeah.
Lauren, what are the numbers in Clay and Union for 4-H? Members.
Union sits at just under 200,
Okay,
and Clay County sits at like 130, 140.
okay. So,
It's a good explanation.
But they don't want to hire a full-time one like we have.
No, ma'am.
Interesting.
Not in conversations with the counties. Which that may be unfair to say. I don't know if we've ever proposed that option
Yeah.
to either of those counties. So it's unfair for me to say that they don't want to do that.
and I guess I reiterate, since Yankton County took the step of hiring, Katie to do this, and the other counties didn't, then we're the ones on the chopping block. It just doesn't seem fair to me,
Sure.
if we're
Don't we
roughly
still
the
get to
same.
keep Kate? Don't we?
Yeah, I mean, you'll still have the 4-H
Well,
program.
Yeah, we will, but since we took the proactive step of hiring somebody and paying for somebody, then we're the ones who are losing the service from SDSU.
And that's not
That-
necessarily the whole case. I mean, like,
Sure,
you
well-
take Hutchinson County. Hutchinson County has a county-paid 4-H advisor and a part-time or half-time 4-H advisor from SDSU. I mean, we did not come in and remove Deanna Gall from that county just because the county had proactively hired Janaea Bringle to also be a 4-H advisor. The situation here is simply there's just too much service area. It's unsustainable for someone to do the job.
Does the Hutchinson County SDSU person, is that just Hutchinson County or?
She shares Hutchinson and Turner County.
Okay. What does Bon Homme County have?
Bon Homme is partnered with Charles Mix County.
So we would be the only county that wouldn't be partnered with an adjacent county
In this
then?
region,
In this
yes.
region.
I mean, Hutchinson County does pay for a full-time 4-H advisor, much like Yankton County. That's just for Hutchinson County. They also, though, have that SDSU-funded position, too, between Hutchinson and Turner. And again, if the county wanted an SDSU-funded position, I mean, at this moment in time, our budget is tight at the state level. However, if that's something the county wanted to investigate, we're happy to start looking into that. I mean, we're not prepared to make that offer now or for this current fiscal year, upcoming fiscal year, but that is most certainly something that we could look at in the future.
So if this thing is gonna be activated on the 1st of January, your decision's already made.
If you want me to be blunt, yes, sir. I mean, the decision is made on our end. Lauren will be moving to Union and Clay County.
Are there any other counties aside from Yankton that don't have a SDSU advisor? I mean, is it Bon Homme and Charles Mix and Hutchinson and Turner, Clay and Union? They all have your guys' support and somebody in their
And
office.
Yankton County will
Yeah.
have our support too, and
But
programmatically.
we're not gonna have somebody in
You
their
have
office like we
Lincoln
do now.
County, who does not have an SDSU-funded position. Grant County, I'm trying to think of the others. Edmonds County, McPherson County, Campbell County. That may be all of them.
Sure. Well, I guess I see value in the partnership with SDSU and coming
Sure.
in and.
And we still have that
Yeah.
partnership. Like, I would still come occasionally to the county office. I work with Danielle quite often. Danielle's
Sure.
great. Katie still comes to our trainings, and Katie works with us in terms of our program that we deliver. I mean, it's still very much so a partnership.
So what is it you're asking us tonight, since you've already made the determination you're chopping us off the first of the year?
Sure. So I hate to use that language, though. It's not really chopping. I mean, you still have 4-H. I don't see this as anyone being lost here. Like, you have someone who comes in one day a week to assist and help and do a little bit of reporting.
Until the first of the year.
You should not see any changes in educational programs, any changes in 4-H clubs, any changes in youth that's enrolled in the county. I mean, your county 4-H program is essentially going to look identical. You'll just have one less face in the office one day a week. So I hate to use the term chopping block.
So what are, you're just coming to tell us that this is gonna
Well, I think
happen,
is-
or?
That's part of it. The other piece is
Yeah, I want
this
to know what the other
memorandum
piece.
of understanding. So this has to be signed with SDSU each year to allow 4-H operations to continue in the county.
And we do that every year anyway.
Yes, ma'am. And the 30,000-foot level of that document essentially says Yankton County can hire someone. Yankton County can hire support staff. These people will be in the office. Yankton County can use the name 4-H. They can use the 4-H Clover. 4-H operations can continue in Yankton County. SDSU Extension provides oversight to the state 4-H program, and we provide oversight to what 4-H looks like across the state. And ultimately, SDSU maintains the name and brand of 4-H. So that's essentially what the memorandum of understanding says at that 30,000-foot level.
Well, I know this isn't, easy. We
Sure.
feel a little left out maybe, but I do think 4-H in the county is an important program. I'd like to see it continue. And I don't want to take away from Lauren at all, but Katie very much has been running the 4-H program in the county. In like you said, it's a lot of form work and kind of some assistance, and I'm sure you'll be missed over there, but I don't see any big changes to the program myself from what I know in conversations in the office in the past. So I would be in support of moving forward with this memorandum of understanding and continuing Yankton as part of 4-H.
And the other piece on that note, just this last year, y'all's county fairs overlapped. Union County's fair and Yankton County Fair was at the same time, so Lauren wasn't even here for the Yankton County Fair. Well, she was here one day. Sorry. Yep, Danielle has to correct me.
Because we have another 4-H person, whereas they don't.
And Danielle made a great point too. 4-H, on our side, we're some of the most collaborative people on earth. Like, Thursday, they are all meeting in Hutchinson County, all the region advisors, including Katie, to talk about 4-H programs here in the state, in their region. So if something happens, if Katie needs help, for sure, someone will be here to help. If Katie needs help and she calls me, I will make the drive myself down to help in however way we can. I really don't want y'all to think of SDSU has said Yankton County is invaluable and that we're pulling out, because that is most certainly not the case. Most certainly not. We value every young person in the state of South Dakota. We are extremely happy and extremely proud of what 4-H looks like here in Yankton County, and we want to continue that. We just also have to look out for the staff people involved.
Kind of sounds like you are, though.
Yeah.
Does the memorandum state though what would happen, because I do recall when we were without someone prior to Katie, that you guys stepped in. So if you're no longer providing those services, and for example, Katie would leave and we have no one, what happens?
Sure.
Because under the old agreement, you guys had to provide somebody until we could fill that position.
Sure. Great question. So actually, in the agreement that was recently signed last year, that wasn't in there already. So that's not in any of our current agreements, that if an advisor were to leave, we have to do that. However, what we do is, let's say Katie were to leave 2 years from now, and we hope not, but 2 years from now, someone gives her a great job and she decides she wants to go somewhere else. We would work with Danielle or whoever's in the office. We worked with Katie before she left to have a plan of action in place. Here's how this transition looks. And then we would identify all the essential pieces that need to continue in the interim until a replacement can be found and filled. And then our office would work with surrounding 4-H advisors and would work with the support staff in the county to make sure that those essential elements continue in the interim. Now, that's not in the agreement. It's not going to be in the agreement. However, that's what we do. So like recently, Hamlin-Kingsbury County, they've been without now for about a year. It's been a hard position to fill. And all of their stuff, their support staff member there, I constantly email and say, what's going on? How can we help? What can we do? Luckily, they've been a great county to work with, and they've said, we don't really need much help. We've got it taken under control. However, if they ever needed help, I say that, I did have to go chaperone a dance. So, we do things like that from time to time if needed.
But are they currently still?
Now they are, but that doesn't change the fact. I mean, if you're without someone at any moment in time, our office will do whatever we can to make sure the essential elements of 4-H continue. I mean, we're currently doing that in Zebach County, and they're without someone at the moment, and they're not an SDSU-funded position.
I guess my take would be, again, I know it doesn't feel like we're in the great position, but I would think we need to take a little bit of leap of faith and continue in this program. We're losing Lauren regardless. I would like to hope we can take that leap of faith and hope that 4-H. I'm guessing you don't want to see 4-H go away completely in Yankton County.
Oh no, most
And
certainly
so
not.
if things are looking sour here a year or two from now, I'm hoping there's constant communication, maybe reevaluate numbers at some point. But my guess is 4-H would like to see 4-H to continue, and hopefully that they show that through the support that we might need.
Talk to me about, in paragraph 2, it says the 4-H program cannot be offered in Yankton County without an established and publicly identified relationship with STSU Extension as well as a signed agreement.
Yes, sir. So, Extension and 4-H is a federal program, and being a federal program, it is delegated to the state land grant institution in our state, South Dakota State University, to maintain 4-H. So no county in the country can have a 4-H program without their local county government agreeing to participate in said program with the state land grant institution. Again, in our case, that's South Dakota State University. And so that's just basically when you all would vote to sign this memorandum, you've accomplished that task.
What guarantees do we get for that?
What's that now?
What guarantees do we get for doing that?
That 4-H will continue. I mean, 4-H has continued for years in Yankton County. The guarantee is you've signed a document, and we will sign the document saying that 4-H will continue in Yankton County. And if you need to look at another county program, this is exactly what Lincoln County does, exactly what Grant County does, exactly what Edmonds, McPherson, and Falk County, Campbell County, all of them, same exact agreement.
Are there any other questions? I would make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between SDSU Extension and Yankton County, South Dakota for the 4-H program for 2023.
Got a motion to approve the memorandum. Is there a second? I'll second that. Further discussion? All those in favor say, let's do a roll call vote, Patty.
Sherry,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Wanda,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Madam Auditor, you are more than welcome to mail us a hard copy of the signed agreement, or you can just email it to us, whichever works best for y'all.
All right.
Okay, 6:52. I'd entertain a motion to go on Board of Adjustment.
I move to go into the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are now a Board of Adjustment. Okay, item 9, Washington CUP.
Hi, good evening. I'm Marty Washington. I am the owner of 44873 River Rat Road. I'm also the applicant for the CUP tonight. I've recently purchased this property with the idea of with the blessing of the, sorry, I work for a city council, with the blessing of the commission, to operate a B&B with a conditional use permit. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
So you're actually gonna operate a bed and breakfast where you serve breakfast, or is this a short-term
So
rental?
ideally, my husband and I both have full-time jobs.
Sure.
This would be our part-time job, but I think it will be another full-time job, but that's okay. We like the idea of ultimately becoming a bed and breakfast, but to kind of eke our way in, we're looking more towards the short-term rental, not necessarily via Airbnb, but the idea of the Airbnb Vrbo. And, you know, in our off-season, which we would imagine would be between like November and March, yeah, the brown season was what we called at our house. We'd like to entertain like traveling nurses and traveling CNAs and kind of help facilitate that in our region too, which is just in terms of finding employees. I know it's hard, so.
Any other questions for the applicant at this time? I don't have any, I guess.
I'd move approval of the condition.
No. Public
I
comment.
gotta let the public speak first.
Okay, you may have a seat, Marty, thank you. Would anybody in the audience care to make comment on this application?
My name's Leanne Johnson, and the Johnson property butts right up to this property. And they came to me, and I know they came to all the other neighbors and wanted to make certain that they had our blessing before they did it. And they explained how they were going to do it, and I just wanted to say that I have no problem whatsoever with them having, you know, turning this property or this home that they bought into a part-time B&B or Vrbo. And like I said, I just wanted to say that I think it's good what they're doing.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak on this? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. Bring it back to the board.
I have no problem with the bed and breakfast. I guess the issue that I have, and I've talked to Deb, and I brought this up before, is that there's a conditional use permit for a bed and breakfast, and our definition is it's a dwelling occupied by family used incidentally to provide accommodations and meals to guests for remuneration, but shall not include a boarding house, residential care facility, hotel, motel, or similar uses. And I think what we're doing is we're lumping short-term rentals, like the Airbnbs and Vrbos, into that definition when it doesn't necessarily meet that definition. If they serve meals and house guests, it's a bed and breakfast. If it's just a short-term rental, I don't know if it makes that definition. I'm certainly fine approving this, but I think that's something that we're gonna need to hash out in the future of, are we doing conditional uses for short-term rentals or are we not? And
Isn't that
so-
what we were doing out at the lake?
Well, but where in section 507 does it say short-term rentals? Because it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. That's my
They
thing.
leave
And
some
per this-
Pop-Tarts in the cabinet that's feeding them.
Well, there is a difference.
I
There
know.
is a difference, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed in the future. I'm fine moving ahead with this one, but
Yeah, I'd agree it
Had
should be
been.
addressed, and in the
Sure.
past, we've approved them.
yeah. And maybe that's
basically
the
under-
answer, is we add short-term rentals as a conditional use permit, or we say they don't require them unless they're serving meals.
I think we've
For
approved them
remuneration.
under 509 in the past.
Sure. No, I agree with that, but this has got to be the fourth, fifth one, and that we shouldn't probably be using that often. I mean, we've had the shared wall one, the first time we ever encountered it, we changed the zoning ordinance for it. This is the fifth or sixth time we've done it, and we haven't change the zoning. So we need to either decide this is gonna require a conditional use permit, and if that's so, it needs to be added to section 507.
So what you're saying is you want that to be published so we can change that? and
No,
just
I think we
Not
need to.
discuss it anymore?
I personally don't think short-term rentals are a conditional use permit as our zoning ordinance sits now, because it's nowhere in there is it mentioned.
That's why I said you would require an amendment to add that.
Or not regulate it, because
Well, I
it's
think
not
there
in
should be some regulation.
Well, at our next quarterly strategic planning meeting, you two can talk about that.
We-
But for the matter at hand, no, I think they're valid points. And quite frankly, the people wanting to do short-term rentals right now, there's way more than the 5 of them that we've given
Exactly.
conditional use permits to. So I commend the people who are being proactive and neighborly in doing so, but in the future, that probably should be looked at. For the evening, is there any other questions or discussions regarding this application?
We need to walk through the,
And I just had it, and I just scrolled away. So I'm gonna go through the findings of fact quickly. Says requirements of 1723 are met and 29 are met. Applicant wishes to have a bed and breakfast, short-term rentals in an agricultural district per Article 5, Section 507. Mailings and notices have gone out. It passed 5-0 at the planning and zoning. Recommendation for approval. Ingress, egress exists. Off-way, right-of-way parking is present. Refuge and service areas are present. Utilities are present. No screening and buffering or signs required. Required yards and open spaces exist. It is in general compatibility with adjacent properties and will not adversely affect public interest. At planning and zoning, there were 2 neighbors that spoke in support of the application. With that, I would entertain a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor, roll call vote, sorry.
Don,
Yes.
Wanda,
Yes.
Sherry,
yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Joe.
Yes. Motion passes. You have your
congratulations,
CUP.
you guys.
Best of luck. Okay, we're on to item 10. Lang CUP.
Nope.
Mr. Lang?
Neil Lang. Hello, folks. Yeah, I have 3 properties out there. And I had it surveyed where I wanted to combine all 3 of the properties. The main reason is I want to put a storage unit on one of the properties. Main reason is a variance. Even though I own the property, you got the footage on both sides, and that was one of the main reasons.
That's more so for the plat that we're gonna see, correct?
Correct,
Why,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna start with just the CUP. For the self-storage units.
Well,
And then we have to approve the plat as well.
is that the way it's going?
How it is in here, and I know in the past it's been chicken or the egg, but I think technically the plat probably should be approved.
First.
I was thinking that was what was happening. is-
Because otherwise it wouldn't
we
meet
are
the-
in Board of
your
Adjustment.
minimum lot requirements, yeah.
Yeah.
Gary, what do you recommend there?
To come out of Board of Adjustment and do the plat and then go, okay.
Okay, I'll move to come out of the Board of Adjustment so
Second.
we can do the plat.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so we're gonna move on to item 11, the plat.
excuse me. So we have one plat tonight, replat of tract 1, laying addition in the northeast quarter, the northwest quarter, lot 2A, Bernard subdivision, and the east half, the west half, the north half of northwest quarter, except the north 690 feet and except the highway right away thereof, all in section 15, township 93 north, range 56 west of the 5th principal meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota, hereafter to be known as tract 2, laying addition in the northwest quarter of section 15, township 93 north, range 56 west of the 5th principal meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota.
Neil, you're just combining these because you don't want to go through a variance. I understand. Yeah. I'd move approval of the plat.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. I would
Make a motion to go into Board of Adjustment.
further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. We are now in Board of Adjustment once again.
Thank you, folks.
Nope.
That was
No.
sure.
Now we're back to you.
Now
So
we're
then-
gotta go through.
Now we gotta
On
go
the
through-
storage units.
Now the storage unit CUP.
Okay.
You're not getting away that easy.
I wondered about that.
I gotta get the right thing.
Well,
pulled
I
up
have a
again.
question. Are you gonna crash down that barn?
Who's talking there?
Me.
Wanda.
Oh, Wanda.
Your microphone.
No, I'm not,
It's
no, that
on.
barn's not gonna get, no way. No
Well, I was just looking at the picture, and
picture.
it looks like it's gonna encompass that barn.
No, the storage unit will be clear up to the north.
Okay,
Yeah, that barn's got to stay.
okay.
How big of a building is this going to be?
That'll be, either 12, 16-foot stalls,
Big enough for big campers?
or, pardon?
Big enough for big campers?
Yeah, or possibly 13 if I, be either 200, or 192 or 208.
Sure. Is this going to be for your campgrounds, or is this going to be for anybody who wants to utilize it?
I honestly think I can fill it up with the campers,
Okay.
but I don't want to be restricted to.
Sure. No, I was just asking the question. Okay.
Any more questions for Mr. Lang?
No.
Okay, you may sit down and we'll take public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Would anybody in the audience care to make comment on this application?
Hey, Butch.
Butch Becker. I've done some work for Mr. Lang in the past, and this came up because with 2 setbacks, he wouldn't be able to have the number of units that he wanted to put in, but it still doesn't alleviate him of the setback on the west side of the property for the building, but he understands that. He's willing to do that, but it would have taken off a couple bays at least, almost 3, maybe part of a 3rd bay, if he would have not combined the properties in the new plat. Any questions?
Are you going to be supervisor of lights,
Of what?
of the lighting on those storage units? Or
I
assist
could-
Mr. Lang?
I think he understands that it has to be downcast. He's been pretty good about that.
Yeah,
There's been a few more spring up out there since I was in on the other ones that have not been changed yet, but be something to look at.
Anybody? No, thank you. No, sir. Anybody else care to make comment on this? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed.
I think it makes sense for the property, and personally, there's a lot of other storage units in that area. Guess I don't see any issue with it.
I'll go through findings quickly. Requirements of 1723 and 29 have been met. The applicant is requesting conditional use for self-storage in a lakeside commercial per Article 11, Section 1107, mailings and publishings went out. It was recommended approval at 5-0 at planning and zoning. Ingress, egress exists, right-of-way parking is present, refuge and service areas are present, utilities present, no screening or buffering required, signs are not required, none required, and lighting will meet the 52 corridor requirements. Setbacks are compatible, and it's general compatibility with adjacent properties in the area. That, I would entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve.
I'll
the-
second that motion.
Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Wanda,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes. Motion passes. Thanks, Neil. I'd entertain a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are now in regular session. How we doing? Anybody need a break? Keep pushing through? Okay, item 12. Ambulance descriptions. How you doing, Troy?
I'm good. How are all you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Wow.
Steve couldn't be here tonight. His part of it was that he was just going to get the approval on the job descriptions. He had talked to you guys about this at the last meeting, I think, and you had suggested some changes. I believe he made those changes, and did he send those out to you then ahead of time?
He did.
Okay. So that's what he was going to do, was get those job descriptions approved. Do you guys have any questions about those?
I do not at this time.
No.
Move to approve the updated job descriptions for EMS.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, just a couple of things I want to let you know about before we talk about the vehicle. I think some of you may have gotten an email from Steve about Daniel Prendable. Did you all get it? Okay, so Daniel's last day is December 16th, so we will be advertising for a full-time paramedic again, see how that goes. And I'm not sure how updated you were on the full-time EMTs that we talked about the last time that I was here, but we actually have already hired one full-time EMT. He started last week. He's in his orientation. Hopefully he will be through his orientation by the end of this month. And we have another good candidate that we're going to be interviewing for the other position next week. So if that works out, we could potentially have both of them filled by the end of the month and working towards that, so that's good.
It appears from Daniel's situation that he wants to stay in town and still have a connection with.
Yes. Daniel and his family are planning on staying in town. Excuse me. He is going to work for another agency, but he is just going to commute. They'll stay living in town, and he's going to continue as a part-time employee for us when, to work part-time as a paramedic when he's available. So we will still have that, and that's good. Daniel's a good employee. We're glad to still have him on board.
Was there a specific reason that he decided to leave?
Nothing specifically that he told me about. I honestly don't know if the wages were any different to where he's going to. That's kind of the biggest issue that we face. But the Mitchell agency is owned and run by the city up there. I think one of the benefits that he had up there, Daniel is also a volunteer firefighter in the city of Yankton here. And the position that he's going to now, it's fire and EMS. So he'll spend some of his time on a fire engine, and he'll spend some of his time on the ambulance. So I think that was a little bit appealing to him too as well.
That seems like that's becoming more common. I know that's the way Mitchell does it, is you're a firefighter and EMT or EMS.
Yeah.
And they go and, I know there's some other is Aberdeen like that, or one of those other counties?
I think Aberdeen and possibly Watertown is that way as well,
Yeah, and I've heard good things about that, you know, when you have a fire, ambulance is probably going anyway, and.
Right.
And,
Yeah, exactly. It works out well, you know, for the fire departments, it
Sure.
increases their call volume and it helps them to maintain more staff. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people that are appealed to that type of work as well.
Sure.
So the other thing, any more questions about that, about those two things? Okay. Then the other thing that I had brought up, a letter was included about replacing our advanced life support vehicle. The current one is a 2006 Chevy 3/4 ton pickup. It's got about 78,000 and some miles on it. I think we're kind of on borrowed time with that, to be honest with you. And we are going to start using that vehicle more as we get into this weekend change that we had talked about some time ago, where the paramedics are going to use that vehicle to respond along with the ambulance on the weekends to kind of spread our staff out a little bit more. And honestly, we've been looking at replacing that vehicle or trying to replace that vehicle for years now. But now I think we have the opportunity to do it, and so that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. One thing that's not mentioned in the letter that came up afterwards, and I talked to Jeff in maintenance about this, Jeff Feifley, is that if we replace the current vehicle that we have, the 2006 Chevy, we can give him and his department that vehicle that we currently have to be used in the maintenance, along with the snowplow that goes with it. Part of the reason that we have a 3/4 ton pickup is because we plow our own snow over there at the ambulance parking lot. I spoke with Jeff about it earlier this week, and he is agreeable to take that pickup because it would help him with his fleet and the maintenance department. And it would also then give 2 snowplows to the maintenance department so that they can spread out in different directions with snowplows when they need to do that. And he agreed that he would plow our parking lot when the snow comes so that we don't have to do that.
Are you hoping for snow?
No, I'm hoping that it never gets used, but.
Troy, can you explain, like, why won't this truck that you have work for the mission that you do? I guess, explain it to me.
I'm sorry, Dan, say that again.
Okay, so the 2006 Chevy,
Yes.
what's going on with it that it's not, you're not able to utilize it for your mission anymore?
It still is working well. We honestly haven't had a lot of mechanical problems with it. We had a few things fixed on it.
Sure.
Honestly, it's starting to get some rust on the body. It doesn't really look the best anymore. It's kind of getting a little beat up. Got a few dents and dings here and there. The rocker panels underneath the doors are getting some rust on it that's getting noticeable. And quite honestly, as a vehicle it will be 17 years old next year. As I mentioned in the letter, I would rather see us get something that's got some updated safety features. This pickup does not have a backup camera on it. We should really have something with a backup camera on it. The modern crash protection that I mentioned in the letter is more like the airbags. The vehicle we have obviously has the driver's side and the passenger side airbag, but nothing else. There's no side airbags or anything like that.
Sure.
And just all the updated features that you see in a vehicle that's built nowadays as compared to a vehicle that was built 17 years ago. The thing that you need to keep in mind now with this vehicle is that primarily we have been keeping it mostly in town when we were using it, but now it's going to be traveling out on the highway, and it will be, it'll be traveling at higher speeds, going to emergency calls, and so I think it's important that we have a vehicle that's got some of these updated safety features.
How will this be used for response purposes?
So during the weekends, when we have the mobile paramedic, this vehicle will respond to all 911 calls, all the primary 911 calls. The full-time paramedic that's working that weekend will get in that vehicle when the call comes in and will go to the scene, and then the ambulance will follow. If for some reason the paramedic is on his way to a call or is at the scene of a call that doesn't require paramedic services and another 911 call comes in that does, he can get in that vehicle and leave the other crew at that first call and then respond to the second call instead. So it's going to be doing a lot more traveling, and it will be used countywide. It can go as far as we do with the ambulance. So.
I know those are pretty dependable trucks, and there are a lot of them that have 2 or 3 times that mileage. I guess my one issue I have is if there's nothing wrong with it, you know, we being good stewards of county funds should keep utilizing it. If it comes to the point where, you know, it's unreliable, that's a different issue. But right now, it's working. I know there's highway department vehicles with more miles on it, and so I guess I maybe be a stickler on that. But if it's functioning, that's one thing. If it's not functioning, that's a different story to me, but maybe the rest of the commission feels different.
I have a question. Why does this vehicle go and an ambulance? Isn't an ambulance enough?
The reason that we started doing that on the weekends is because we were having 2 full-time paramedics working the weekend shifts. We've taken that down to 1 full-time paramedic working the weekend shift, but that means that our ambulances are staffed with BLS crews. So we may not have a paramedic on both ambulances the way we had before. Now, a lot of our calls don't require paramedic level service, but when they do, we want to make sure that that paramedic is available to respond to whatever call that they need to go to. So if they're on a 911 call that's just a lift assist, that doesn't require any paramedic services, and then a 911 call comes in for somebody having chest pain, we want them to be able to leave that BLS crew at the lift assist and respond to the chest pain.
So is this truck going home with somebody so that they can
Yes.
go?
Yes.
Okay,
The point
so
is
it's
that-
not they're going and then the ambulance is going?
No.
It's
On
they're
call
going and the ambulance will get there eventually?
Yes.
Okay.
They can take the vehicle home with them. They can take the vehicle with them. They do take the vehicle with them wherever they go when they are working and on duty. And then wherever they happen to be when that 911 call comes in, they get in that vehicle and they go. They're not necessarily responding or going to the station to respond to the 911 call.
Okay.
And to kind of address what you said a little bit, Dan, I think that the vehicle still will be used and utilized by the county if we turn it over to the maintenance department. There's really not much, there's not going to be too much of a resale value on the vehicle or a trade-in value because it has a light bar with antennas on the top. So there's holes drilled in the top of the roof that if we took that light bar off, those holes would have to be repaired. Again, there's some rust on the vehicle. There's just some issues. Also, when the vehicle was purchased back in 2006, it's an extended cab vehicle. They took the back seat out of it in order to put a storage compartment in there, and they also removed the center seat in order to put the console for the light switches. I don't know where those seats are. We don't have them anymore. So if we were to sell it as a trade-in, it would just be a 2-seater, and that would be it. So there's really no trade-in value to it. That's why we think it would be better off keeping it in the county, giving it to the maintenance guys. And Jeff has expressed that it actually would be useful to him because there's times that he could use 2 heavy-duty pickups like that.
Do you have a vehicle, not necessarily picked out, but what would you be looking to replace it with? Do you need 3/4 ton? Would it be single cab, extended cab?
We don't need a 3/4 ton. I think the only reason they had the 3/4 ton was because of the snowplow. I have found some vehicles, we have to narrow it down to a white vehicle. So I have found some, the closest one here in town is a 2022 Chevy half-ton 4x4 extended cab pickup. It would have to be extended cab because we do carry equipment in there, and that would have to be behind the seat. So an extended cab or a crew cab would work, but an extended cab would be fine. Northtown Auto has that vehicle listed. The price range is about $43,800 for that particular pickup. I did find another one up at Sioux Falls and also another one, and these are all extended cab 4x4 pickups, another one down in Norfolk. We could also go with an SUV like a Ford Explorer instead if we wouldn't necessarily have to have a pickup. We do have to have 4-wheel drive and we have to have storage capability like a hatchback on an SUV or an extended cab pickup.
Okay.
And if you got one, would you lose these seats as well?
No, no, I think that we would keep the seats and just utilize it the way it is. That could also come in a little bit handier if we ever had a situation where we had to transport personnel to a scene or something, which is...
So will this pickup be passed around or it'd be one person specific?
it'll be passed around from whoever's working that particular day. During the week, when we don't have that same staffing type of situation that we do on the weekends, it'll be used as a second crew vehicle. The second crew paramedic would use it to respond to 911 calls. The second crew paramedic doesn't have to be at the station like the first crew does, so they take that vehicle with them. And I'm the one that covers second crew during the weekdays most of the time, so I would use that vehicle to get away from the station, to do things, to do errands, and if a 911 call came in, I could either respond to the scene or I could get to the station and meet the person that I'm on with to get in the ambulance. Either way, it's been used both ways.
The 10,000 in repairs and maintenance, is that typically just I guess, do you know what you have in repairs and maintenance?
Yep, I just got the printout of it the other day. And right now, our repairs and maintenance balance is $19,929. And the supplies balance is $28,314.
Okay. What do we typically put into the repairs and maintenance, do you know, or do you know off the top
That's
of your
up
head?
to the department.
Yeah.
It says here,
I'm assuming we get to a certain point, or hoping we get to a point, and then we just try to maintain a certain dollar amount in that repairs and maintenance and supplies probably.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
The truck wouldn't go in that account number though.
no.
No, you're looking to transfer that.
We need to transfer that money
Transfer
over
10.
to the, what I call the Vehicle Acquisition Fund. I'm sure Patty has a more official name for it, but that's what I call it. Right now, we have
80,000 in there.
We have 80,000 in there now. It's already been budgeted to receive another 40,000 in 2023. However, we still have the one ambulance. We're waiting on the chassis that we ordered over a year ago. Once that chassis comes, we're going to remount that ambulance. That's going to cost us right at about 150,000. So by adding this additional 20,000 into that account with the funds that we already have in our 2022 budget, that will give us enough money to complete the remount. We've already paid for the chassis, or we put a down payment of 60,000 on the chassis. So we still have a balance of about 90,000 on that remount. It'll pay for the remaining balance of the remount, and it'll pay for the new ALS response vehicle.
So we're gonna need two motions, or maybe one motion to transfer these monies, and then when a vehicle's identified and whatnot. We're probably gonna have to go out for a bid and approve, so there's gonna be,
Well, if it's
I
under
assume.
50,000, it doesn't have to.
doesn't have to go to bid.
No,
Okay,
if it's under 50.
okay.
What was the price that you
Approval to
identified?
purchase it though.
Of the,
For the truck.
of the three vehicles that I just mentioned, they are priced anywhere between 42,000 and 46,000.
Are they
So
new, used,
they're brand new.
brand new?
Yep.
And now, this vehicle won't be transporting patients or anything, it's just to
No.
get the EMT to the site if need be.
Yep, exactly.
So,
It's kind of a command vehicle is what it is. It will not transport patients.
So one thing I do want to say is that we just went to this new schedule. We're trying this.
Yes.
To make sure that this setup will meet our needs. So I would advise that we actually wait on taking action on buying this vehicle, or since we don't need to advertise it. And the reason I say that is, one, I think we need to show that the schedule's going to work. We just had a paramedic resign, and now we have to fill another full-time paramedic. We're still looking for the full-time EMT for the weekends, et cetera. So I think a lot of things need to kind of come into view to make sure that this is working before we go down this path. The other thing is, just because we're not spending the repairs and maintenance and supplies budgets this year does not mean those dollars are not still in the general fund. So essentially, when you have a budget, anything you don't spend is essentially still sitting in the general fund because we haven't spent it. So you can take the action to assign these dollars in 2023 because they're still in the general fund because we didn't spend them. So you can make that in January, February, March, April, May, you can assign any of those dollars to capital outlay so that they are there. So that would be my advice right now, is to kind of see how things go for a little bit. Let's get our feet kind of on the ground, get some stability, and then the trucks are still going to be there. There's more trucks sitting on the lots all the time. Prices are going to be coming down. Certainly aren't going to be escalating like they did over the last year or two. So I think there's just a little cushion here before we take action.
And I can appreciate that. And we very may want to go down that road, but I guess I would agree that if we're kind of just switching to that, we might want to vet it out. I think regardless, it sounds like you're probably going to want something to replace this coming up.
Yeah.
The one you have the body will rust off of it before that engine ever goes, and it'll.
Yeah, and like I said, there's been a few small issues that we've addressed with it already. There was a few small leaks that got addressed. Some of the gauges on the dashboard had to be replaced. Nothing terribly expensive at this point. It only has about 78,000 miles, which is extremely low mileage considering the age of the vehicle. And I just want to make it clear that, you know, this isn't a vehicle that's only being used this way just because of the fact that we have that change on the weekends. Whether we have that change on the weekends or not, this vehicle is something that really does get used pretty much 7 days a week, regardless. Even when we were on the old schedule without the change on the weekends, we were still using this vehicle pretty regularly. So it's not just because of the weekend change that we want to do this. It's just we've been looking to replace this vehicle for quite a few years, and we saw this opportunity that we may be able to get it done now. So that's why we're bringing this up now.
Sherry, what kind of time frame were you thinking about?
You know, I think for sure I'd give it till February, and because trucks are still going to be sitting there probably in February, because people are looking till next year's trucks, and if you're going to buy a new truck, you're not going to buy 2022, you're going to buy 2023. So I guess I would look more like in February. You're going to have 2 new commissioners coming on. They probably have some input there, and then they're in on that decision and have some ownership in it.
I think that's a wise idea.
Okay. I'm hearing that we're probably happen, but probably not at this meeting.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Thanks,
Yep.
Troy.
Do we want to put it on the agenda for February or March so that we don't
It's a long ways
forget
off.
about it?
He won't
I
forget.
bet Troy
Oh,
will.
He won't let us forget.
Don't worry, Don, I'll remember. Yeah, I'll make
that-
sure that when that
Sure,
time comes, that I'll
sure.
get back on the agenda, we'll come back and talk about it then.
A half-ton
Sounds good.
pickup might,
Go
these
down.
get about 10 miles to the gallon. A half-ton pickup's probably better.
Yeah.
Gas
And
wise.
my only concern too would be maybe an SUV would be a
You might find you something
a
different.
better
would be
purchase
better.
too. I don't, I guess keep your options open.
Yeah, we've actually had this vehicle going way back to the mid-1990s. There was some type of a vehicle in it, and the first vehicle that they ever used was a Chevy Astrovan, if you remember those, which
One
did
in
not
the
do
paper
well.
right now.
Yeah,
2002.
I mean, it was good for storage, but it didn't do well in the winter weather because it was a rear-wheel drive van.
Maybe we
So
could-
then they switched to a four-wheel drive pickup, and that got replaced with this one in 2006.
Could maybe find you a 1-ton van. I'm sure they're out there.
If you want to come drive it for me, Dan, that's fine. Okay, thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
All
Troy.
right, thanks, Roy.
I'll take this next one. Minnehaha County Juvenile Detention Agreement. So I got a call from Minnehaha the other day, and it kind of goes back to the discussion we had with their new detention center that they're looking at doing. And I'm assuming they were getting some feedback and questions from counties, and what they're looking to do and evaluate and run the numbers on was, rather than a large capital expense from their partner counties up front to get this built, they're looking at taking on the entire cost of that, and then goes back to a per day, per use rate for each county that has juveniles in there. and I think it's in here, I had the numbers written down at home too, but today we pay 270, yeah, and it'll go to 4. And that's for what they consider partner counties. The Department of Corrections is not a partner agency, and they pay about $100 more than us today. And so that's kind of where some of that jump would go into. I gotta find it. Anyway, the original rate was set based off of our average. And so what happened was some of the counties, if for the last 5 years you had very low usage, your initial capital was very low, and then you could use it quite a bit in the future, and vice versa. You could have a high daily average use rate, and then maybe the next 10 years we have a very low use rate, and we've got all that capital invested in that. And so that's kind of why they're looking to reevaluate this and on a per day schedule. Now, the numbers that have been discussed and that are in here are not set in stone. What they are looking for is simply, it's not even a hard commitment. It is basically an agreement that that we would like to continue down this path and be part of this partner agency. At any time, if we wanted to go another route, there's nothing binding us to use them, but they need some sort of assurance from the counties that if they put all this money into it, that it will be used. So it's really a kind of a warm fuzzy, I guess,
So it's more of a letter of
intent.
support
Yeah, it's a
or
letter of intent
something.
or support that, yes, we don't have anything in the foreseeable future where we are gonna cut and run, is essentially what they're asking us.
Well, top of page 3 of 8, it says 27807, not 400. So I'm liking 27807 much better than 400.
Well, that's for this year, before the
That's
new
this
facility
year.
is built.
Well, this is
Or for
2023.
2023.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be our rate going forward, but
Okay.
if they pull the trigger on building this $50 million complex, somebody has to fund it. So initially, they were looking at partner counties helping to pay the mortgage on that every year, and our usage rate put our mortgage payment at $425,000. Until our usage average would chunk down, well, that's gonna take at least 5 years to flush out. Because I sat in on this original phone call when they talked about this and kind of mentioned to them that non-partner counties need to be funding some of this as well. And I think that made them rethink and come back and say, well, maybe Minnehaha should just pay for everything and then just charge more for the use, which really makes, to me, more sense. And in here, they're quoting between $400 and $450 a day.
Page
Well,
11.
if you take our payment, that we could have two and a half kids there for a year at $450 to meet our $425,000 payment. So it's in our best interest, actually, to go for the higher daily rate and stay away from the mortgage payment.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the mortgage payment.
Yeah, and then everybody, partner or non-partner, pays the same rate.
You got a
and-
kid,
and
you pay.
We're all helping to fund that building, is what it comes down to.
Part of that too is I was on a conference call yesterday there with the regional jail. There's gonna be some sort of a attempt to get some money for a youth detention for Sioux Falls as well. So with Sioux Falls taking point on that, or Minnehaha County.
So really what they're after is that final page, 13. So page 12 says, what we're asking Yankton County Commission to indicate to Minnehaha County that they are supportive of a flat bed day rate as an alternative to the current method as described in the JPA. So they included a draft letter, questions, contact, and then I'll just read the letter. And we, the Yankton County Commission, are supportive of the idea of moving to a flat fee for bed days used should the Minnehaha County Juvenile Justice Center be approved. We support the intention of Minnehaha County to build a new juvenile justice facility as the current one does not meet the needs of those supported. We understand the current joint powers agreement would remain in place while the new facility is constructed. Any change to a flat fee would not occur until the new housing units are open, which is anticipated to be the fourth quarter of 2024. So what they're asking is for us to sign that final page, which binds us to nothing. They're, like I said, they're looking for basically an agreement that, yes, we think the flat fee would be a better option for us, and our current agreement would stay in place until a facility's built, essentially.
Well, it doesn't look like juveniles are getting any better.
Just wait till my kids get older, Wanda.
I'm waiting. I'll be gone from here, but I'll be waiting.
So does anybody have concerns
No.
with signing this intent?
I guess I would move to approve the letter of intent that we as in Yankton County, we would use the proposed new facility and do a per day per child rate versus pay a mortgage on something we won't own.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item 14, code of conduct.
Joe,
Oop.
do you not though have to sign the agreement for 2023?
We've already signed that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we did
Yeah,
that a couple
we
months
did
ago,
that.
didn't
I
we?
think they just had that in there just for, yeah, yep.
Informational purposes.
Do you want to just maybe date that too?
Sure.
Joe can just sign this, can he, that letter of intent, not everybody has to.
Okay.
And then just go to Minnehaha, okay?
Yes, please. Okay, item, where are we? 14, code of conduct.
Oh, shoot, that was-
I'm gonna get my email up. So this is, Wanda had sent this out, Gary forwarded it to everybody after the last meeting. Now I gotta find it. There it is. Everybody find it?
Yep.
What was the date on that email?
It's the last meeting, November 15?
November,
Yep, November 15.
and it would have been, I think code of conduct was the
I found it.
subject.
We had the last two meetings.
We didn't have the agreement, or the verbiage.
Deb, do I have to put that in the minutes? The full thing?
Resolution?
This resolution.
How come it wasn't in the packet, though? Shouldn't it be in the packet, especially
I
if it's a
didn't,
resolution?
I didn't get it.
Okay.
Does the full text have to be in the minutes or just the motion to approve it?
So I'll read it.
Well, yeah, I mean, right now we don't even, I mean, it doesn't require, I'll have to check on that for you,
Okay.
because it doesn't, it's not one where it has to be published necessarily, so I'll check on
Aren't we just putting it in the book?
it. Right.
Much like number 15,
Yep.
inserting it in 313?
In the handbook, you're saying?
Yeah.
I'll just read this since it was not in the packet, but, resolution amending the Yankton County Code of Conduct for elected officials in order to incorporate due process. Whereas the Yankton County has previously adopted various policies and procedures pertaining to conduct expected of elected officials. Whereas the adopted policies and procedures address a number of specific requirements pertaining to the county expectations regarding the conduct of its elected officials, and whereas in January 2021, the county adopted a resolution, a code of conduct for elected officials, the code of conduct, and whereas the code of conduct did not replace other county policies and procedures pertaining to the conduct expected of its elected officials, but augmented any and all county policies and procedures regarding the county's expectations of its elected officials, and whereas the code of conduct does not currently incorporate a due process procedure in the event an allegation is made pursuant to the code of conduct, and whereas a due process procedure would provide notice and an opportunity to be heard to any elected official affected by an allegation under the code of conduct, and whereas Yankton, County of Yankton deems it is in the best interest of the county and its elected officials to incorporate a due process procedure into the code of conduct. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the County of Yankton that there is hereby established an amended code of conduct for elected officials, which in its entirety reads as follows. In order to maintain excellence in government and facilitate the efficient provisions of services to the public, the County of Yankton adopts this code of conduct for elected officials. This code of conduct is in addition to all other policies of the County of Yankton. The code, Yankton County expects each elected official to demonstrate the highest standards of conduct, personal integrity, and honesty in all of their activities in order to inspire public confidence and trust in elected officials. Yankton County expected each elected official to undertake their duties in a fair and impartial manner, refraining at all times from discrimination or the suspension of special privileges. The provision of governmental service requires elected officials to interact with the public. Given the unique relationship between the government and its citizens, each elected official is expected to treat members of the public with the respect and courtesy due to citizens from public servants. However, no elected official shall be expected to endure personal hostility or abuse regardless of the source. So due process, except as provided in section B, 1A, 2, and 3 herein, any time a violation of this code is alleged, the affected elected officials shall be entitled to notice of the alleged violations and a public hearing on the merits of allegations. A complaint of violation of this code shall be made in writing to the office of state's attorney, and his or her designee shall examine the complaint and shall also review any signed written submissions by the person complaint may be heard in executive session. Upon completion of the review, shall submit an executive session an unbiased fact-based investigative report to the county commission. All laws pertaining to executive sessions shall apply, and the county commission shall not take any action regarding any alleged violation of this code in executive session. At least 10 days prior to the scheduled executive session, any affected elected officials shall be notified in writing of the complaint and the scheduled executive session discussion, and shall be provided copies of the materials reviewed by the office of the state's attorney with the report produced by the state's attorney or his or her designee. This provision of notice shall be required except in cases in which the affected elected officials has been accused of criminal wrongdoing, or in cases in which notice to the affected elected officials would jeopardize an ongoing criminal investigation by any local, state, or federal law enforcement agency. State's attorney shall make the determination as to whether the above enumerated notice exception applies, and shall document the files as the reason therefore. In cases of alleged criminal wrongdoing or ongoing criminal investigation, the subject complaint of violation of this code shall be suspended until such time as the state's attorney deems the criminal allegation and or criminal investigation has been resolved, either by prosecution or a determination that no criminal charges are warranted against the affected elected official. In the event the notice exception above does not apply, the matter shall proceed, and any affected elected officials shall have an opportunity to respond and be heard during the scheduled executive session. County Commission will utilize the executive session to become fully informed, discuss if there appears to be a violation of this code, seek resolution without further action. If necessary, discuss scheduling the matter for public hearing and final determination regarding whether a violation occurred, and if necessary, discuss what sanction, if any, may be most appropriate. Any elected officials affected by a complaint of violation of this code may be represented by counsel or his or her choosing at the scheduled executive session. Counsel present under this section is allowed to attend only that portion of the scheduled executive session where the complaint at issue under this code is discussed. Counsel under this section means an attorney at law licensed to practice law in the state of South Dakota. Any elected official affected by complaint of violation of this code may at any time during the process at his or her option choose to have the matter heard at a public hearing. Election of public hearing must be made in writing to the state's attorney. The public hearing shall take place at the next regularly scheduled or special county commission meeting after written notice has been received, provided however that written notice is received at least 10 days prior to the next regularly scheduled or special county commission meeting. Official action by a concurrence of 2/3 of the elected commissioners required for a determination that a violation of this code has occurred, and likewise a concurrence of 2/3 of the elected aldermen shall be required in order to impose sanction. Neither an alleged nor confirmed violation of this code of conduct by itself provides a basis for challenging the validity of any final action, enactment, ordinance, resolution, decision, determination, or recommendation of the county commission. Under South Dakota Codified Law 985, the county commission is the judge of the qualification of its own members. Any sanctions available under state law, including but not limited to public reprimand and public censure, shall be available to the county commission in judging its members. Definitions: public reprimand as used in this code means a public declaration made by resolution at a county commission meeting announcing that an elected official conduct was improper in describing the impropriety under this code. Public censure as used in this code means an official public condemnation made by resolution at a county commission meeting denouncing an elected official's conduct as a violation of this code and the reasons therefore. And all of that long stuff we've got to adopt or talk about adopting, because apparently our code of conduct didn't specifically say not to share personnel information online.
And Sherry did point out there is a couple of things in there that I think Wanda or I need to look at, because there's a reference to a code that applies to municipalities, not to counties. So that is something that Wanda and I need to take a look at. I still think you could approve it, and then we would just need to take that part of it out, I believe would still be sufficient. And then I think there was one other issue, that we discovered, or Sherry discovered when she reviewed it. I apologize, I can't remember what that one was.
It was section B4. It refers to elected aldermen in there. The second part of it just needs to be truncated. And then a shall be needs to be put in after commissioners. So it would read, official action by a concurrence of 2/3 of the elected commissioners shall be required for a determination that a violation of this code has occurred. The rest of the sentence doesn't apply because it
Right.
refers to elected aldermen. And then the code is 985, and it is under the municipalities, Title IX section for alderman form of government. So probably shouldn't be referenced there. I don't know if there's another one that's more appropriate.
We'll just take it out.
I think we can just take it out.
Okay.
So do you want a motion?
I was just gonna ask, do you want a motion to approve amended, or?
You could do a motion to approve with those changes.
Okay.
That's correct.
As amended.
Okay.
So do we know what number resolution this would be? Well, we can number it later.
Or do we want to add it to the handbook?
Cause it's not, it's not a real resolution? Or is it just for the handbook?
It's essentially, we are updating the handbook is what we are doing.
So can't we just
Update the
Make a
handbook?
motion to
update the handbook by
Yep.
the inclusion of that as amended?
Yes,
That'll work for me.
short and sweet, just like that.
I'm sorry?
Short and sweet, just like that.
Is that a motion?
It was a motion.
I will second it.
Motion and a second to update the handbook as amended
With the
and
changes-
presented with
the changes
changes.
presented.
Further discussion?
I guess I'd like to see the final document first.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
You're supposed
Motion
to say
passes.
nay.
Nay.
And if nobody here minds, I'm gonna move on to item 17, because I know there's people waiting out in the hallway. And then we'll come back to the social media.
People in the hallway can come in now.
So we're gonna move on to the medical cannabis renewals.
Before we start, Mr. Chairman, I got an email from somebody, they said they never got noticed when they were due, and maybe I know this is a new thing, but we send out notices when malt beverage and liquor are up for renewal, I assume?
I think the
from what I've
state
heard.
actually does,
Do
but-
do we do that, Patty? Or
No,
does
we
the state
don't.
does? Okay, okay.
I think they just mark it in their calendars.
Okay, but do notices get sent out for the renewal of liquor from the state? Do we know that or
No,
not?
because we send out notice, we advertise when we don't have to
Okay.
advertise anymore, only if it's, a transfer or.
Okay,
But normally we don't.
He's
Okay.
talking about to
Got
the license holders. I think the
Yeah.
state
Do-
does
Well, we
send,
send out.
do
the-
they get a letter saying your license is due
We
by
send
this?
out the information to them.
Okay,
for
do we
liquor
do the
license. For
same
renewal.
with medical?
No.
Okay, could we do that?
I don't know.
That's the plan. This is
Okay.
the first year
Yes,
of
it's new, and
So-
my thought process is it's all due at the same time, let's send there's only 4 of them, just
It's
do
not
it.
due
and-
at the same time.
Is it not due at the same? Okay. But I think notices should go out if we do it for one, it
And I
would,
believe we're aware of that.
okay. All righty.
so I think the question at hand is, renewals were due November 1st. Is there any repercussion to allowing renewals right now?
There is none, and I notified every single person that had a current license, made sure that they knew about it. We got the applications available for them.
Okay,
So there's nothing in the ordinance regarding any penalty or anything like that, and I wouldn't recommend anything like that. This was our first year, so.
so the original licenses that we approved a year ago, due to the timing of things,
We didn't approve the license, we
or
approved the application.
applications, you're correct. The applications we approved, due to the timing of things, the state didn't have everything in place, and the licenses run calendar year. And so what we did last year is the application and then license granted was gonna run for 2021, the month that was left, and then all of 22.
Correct.
So there needs to be a renewal for 2023. Okay. Just so everybody.
When do we send out, so we do send out renewals for liquor and malt beverage. When do we send them out? Like what month?
I'm not
Okay.
sure.
And
It's
when
kind
are
of-
they due?
We get them from the state,
Okay,
and then we send them out to all the
Okay.
malt beverage and the
Okay.
liquor licenses, and then they have to fill out the form and then they bring it to our office.
And then didn't we approve them, and was that in November we did that? So it's before.
The liquor, yep, and then
before
the malt
that.
beverages
Yeah.
was before.
If we just did them all at the same, send out the letters at the same time, I think it'd
Well, I
just be
think the
less
malt beverages,
confusing.
they're different times.
Okay.
You're working on it for next year.
It's November 1.
Mm.
I will work with Patty. I would assume we will send a notice out October 1, reminding them
Sure.
that they need to.
Get ready for January 1.
Okay.
We just need one motion for all these,
I believe it can be just like, yes.
just like the liquor
Or one
licenses and
for
the
each.
malt beverage.
And I will list them just like I do the liquor license.
Okay, do you want me to read off who's
I don't think we-
reapplying?
Do we
No,
need
I
to?
don't-
Okay.
I don't think so.
So I would move to approve to renew the applications for medical cannabis
Second.
Establishments.
establishments.
Dan already
Dan
seconded.
I seconded it.
I don't have to read a bunch of stuff like last
No.
time, do I?
No, they're all done. All
Could
right.
if you wanted to.
You're a good reader.
Thanks. Well, on the application, you had to read,
You did.
the state application, you had to read all those things for each one, but, okay. Motion and a second to approve, the medical cannabis renewals at hand. Is there further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
You're good to
Do you want me to sign these now, or do you mail them out, or?
You can stay.
Yeah, she's got.
We
the
welcome
receipts.
people to stay and watch.
So they had to present with their actual.
Stuff.
The renewal fees. So I know there's been a question about, I just had someone ask when those would be cashed. My recommendation would be that they would be cashed in January, because that's the new year. So if there's any comments on that question? I think that was the question everybody was having.
And I'm not opposed to that if there's a way to, in the future, to make sure, if people are expecting it doesn't get cashed till January.
And I would say it would only be for this year, because we didn't send the renewals
Okay.
out for them to prepare to have to come in and do this.
So maybe date the checks January 1.
I would just tell Patty to hold them.
Yeah, we'll just hold it.
So as far as a renewal fee, can we public
Yeah,
comment
yeah.
now?
You have to say who you are.
For
our
20,
at-home viewers.
okay, for Amanda Johnson, Yankton County resident. So we have licenses for dispensary, manufacturing, and cultivation. And so when we applied and were granted our application was approved for 2022, when we paid our fee, we waited 6 months for the state to then approve. So usually when you apply for a license and you're granted that license, you're able to operate a business. But in this case, yours was pretty much void until the state approved us, which for us was May 27th of 2022. So that was close to 6 months out, so we were not able to operate. And with all of the rules and regulations changing with the cannabis and the undertaking this is, we're not operational, nor is anyone at this point. So to pay $15,000 for a year that we weren't even able to do anything for at least 6 months, we feel that there needs to be some discussion on repaying for 2023 or reapplying and paying for 2023 with having not able to operate in 2022.
Prorated or something back to the.
Very least prorated, but yeah, there was, like I said, none of us have been able to operate because, and rules were constantly changing. So as far as the building and construction process, that's been a learning curve for everyone in terms of what the state is putting out for their rules. And so, again, licenses are granted so a business is able to operate and bring in income, and that has not been the case.
So you're saying the rules from the state have
The
been
state.
changed? Yeah. I feel your pain.
Yeah, yeah, and everyone, you know, the
and-
state, the
and-
same, the state's the same. I mean,
I mean,
everyone's
we,
in the same
we
boat.
tried to make this process easy for you guys, and we offered a lot more licenses than most counties
Oh,
to
absolutely.
be able to
Yeah,
work
no,
with
I
you
mean, and
guys.
the state was
yeah.
inundated, so I mean,
Yeah,
it's, like I
yeah.
said, it's been a learning, everyone's kind of been in it together, but as far as being a business able to operate,
It's tough.
that hasn't been the case, because your license that, you know, granted from the county didn't mean anything until we were granted approval from the state, which for us was not until May 27th, 2022, so all of those months were lost. I mean, so, I mean, I don't know if there's been a history of this where if the county grants approval, gives approval for a license, and you have to wait on another license from the
All we
state.
approved was the application to go to the state, and then the state
Gave you the license,
gave
granted
you
the
Gave you
license.
the license, but as you stand here today, are you open?
No.
When can you be open?
I mean, soon, but not, we're a ways out. Which if that was just on our end, but you don't start major construction without a license. None of us knew that we were granted, you know, none of us knew if we would get
I get
the
that.
license.
I was just asking how long.
Yeah. It's moving along, but yeah.
And I will tell you though, and again, I understand and there's a learning curve. However, the way the process worked, you could have gotten the license from the state first and then the county. There was no requirement to do county then state. You could do it at the same time. And I don't know how many people were aware of that. It is something that I became aware of the more I researched the process. And so, you know, the difficulty is you could have, I mean.
Well, that was unclear, and maybe that was clear
Right.
to others. It was unclear for us. I mean, we called the state daily, you know, and they were inundated. They were in the same, I know Rapid City, they were filtering through a lot of those, so some of the bigger counties were ahead of us. And I don't know how early, what was the earliest granting of an application? I don't know when they granted the first one from the state.
The state?
I don't know the
Yeah.
specific one either. I did find that out, so for purposes of sharing that with the commission, it could have been a different order.
Yeah, but
And I'm not,
And when we heard that somebody did that, we're like, what? How is that even possible? I mean, you know, we thought you had to get approved through the county.
But conversely, you could have gotten a state license, and then the county could have said no.
Correct. The state wouldn't even let us go without that form.
I don't think you could submit the application, because I think we had to wait until we were approved with the county.
You could submit it and then it would say waiting approval on the county. So I was told it could go state, county, state, or both at the same time.
Okay.
Would
Is that
they-
with the
if
new?
you would have submitted it and it said waiting, would they have just
For the county.
waited for the county, or would they have processed it? Do
I
you-
think they would have processed it, but held it until the county approved it. But again, I'm
So-
not gonna talk.
Well,
So
I
it
think
still
regardless,
wouldn't
it
have
was
been
a mess,
approved.
Correct.
unclear.
So what are you asking for?
Well, I think all of us are just, you know, we're sitting here where we've paid the fees for the application for 2022. We're looking at new fees for 2023, and we're still not operational, which, you know, again, for 6 months for us was of no, you know, wasn't.
Value.
Yeah, of no value. It's, so if anything, prorating the fees, or again, just having a discussion on how we can move forward. And again, it just, you know, for us, we had the 3 licenses, that was $15,000 to the county, and we are not operational, nor were we able to be operational until at least 6 months out, because the approval didn't mean anything without the state's.
What?
Have you asked the state to waive their fees? No, I get what you're saying, I understand. It's just really tough, and, well, we just transferred a liquor license to somebody tonight, and he's building a building, and
And he
that
won't
might
be
not
able
be
to
open.
use it until
Well,
February.
and then, you know, is he gonna come in, and it's a slippery slope,
Well, I
and
think
this
with
is just,
cannabis,
yeah.
with this being the first year, as, you know, as
Yeah.
we've all said, I mean, it is a unique, it's not like a
Sure.
liquor license, it's
It
cannabis,
is.
it's brand new.
Yeah.
And like I said, we were on the phone with the state pretty much daily, and they, they were like,
tough.
sometimes you know as much as we do. So it has been you know, challenging, which, for everyone, so. We would hope that would be taken into account with the fees. Or at least move it to the fees wouldn't be due until our state's renewal, because.
Until what?
We're able to, like, our state license, we have to renew May 27th, 2022. It's good until that, 2023, excuse me. Pushing our.
So that doesn't run calendar year?
Probably runs with the state.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it runs on the day you were.
The day we were
received.
approved.
Oh.
So it's just random.
So just year to year, not calendar year. Or, yep.
But our ordinance does state that, and there's just absolutely no way we would expect our auditor to. be able to
Right,
keep track of that.
I'm just
No.
surprised the state doesn't.
And maybe they will,
No, you're
again,
not-
with
no,
all the
you're not,
changes.
Joe. I'm not surprised they do it that way.
It's like your driver's license.
I suppose. Well, does anybody want to make a motion or discuss this, I guess?
Are there any other comments from other license holders?
You have to go up to the, if you're gonna talk, you have to go to the,
I don't think there's any much compassion at this point for the situation. I think everybody understands the situation, but I'm not seeing anybody.
Well, again,
ready
if
to
you
make
grant a
motion.
license, people are able to operate, we were not able to operate. So that is a unique situation. It's not in terms of a slippery slope. This is the time where it is a unique situation because we were unable to operate without a state license. If anything, it should be prorated.
if you wanna talk, you have
Does
to
anybody
go
else
up.
want to
We
make?
have
if-
at-home
yeah,
viewers.
If anybody wants to make comment on this, feel free to come on up.
Hey, Mike Feimer, Yankton County resident also. Part of the license thing, I thought also maybe the fairest thing to do would be prorated. We just, you couldn't operate without the two licenses being at the same time, but there was a 6-month lapse in licensing from the state. So I don't know if you would consider that, or. Because it's pretty impossible to, without the two at the same time to even open the doors, to even do anything. So kind of our hands were tied.
Wasn't that known when you started?
No, it really wasn't. And it was my understanding that
You didn't know that you had to have two licenses?
we did know we had to two, but the state said they were gonna, process it and get after it, not 6 months later. That's kind of a long period of time to be waiting for a license, in my opinion, but,
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Mike Feimer,
Feimer.
F-E-I.
I guess I'm thinking you should be talking to the state.
Well, we got this license here first, and the county was supposed to sort out, well, that was my understanding, the people that they were gonna submit to the state. So I thought we had to go through the state first,
Or the county.
or the county first, sorry. I had to go through the county first.
Well, according to what Miss Lilly said, it wouldn't have made any difference
Yeah.
if you went state first, county first, because you have to have both.
Yeah, you gotta have
Before
both in
one-
hand
the
before you
chicken or
can
the
sell.
egg.
And
Yeah.
I don't think the state thought they were gonna be as delayed as they were, but they were delayed.
Because we did contact them quite a few times during that, review process, and they said they were working on it,
They were short, people were out, people dropped off. I mean, it was a mess, as you guys know. So, I mean,
I just felt the fairest thing would be to prorate when you had both licenses in hand. If it was 6 months, it should be a half-year license fee. I don't know how the rest of those guys' licenses fell out. Maybe it's 6 months or 4 months, or, I don't know.
What if they're 12 months?
Yeah, I don't know if any of them waited that long. There was only 4. It'd probably be pretty easy to check that out.
yours was June.
I'm sorry, when?
June 29th is when we got ours.
Ours was June 30th, the date we were approved
The state.
from the state.
I personally don't know what the answer is.
Shoot.
I have to think about it.
Okay.
I don't know how everybody else feels. But I did notice on another note that Mr. Barta didn't sign the last page of his application.
Who? Markle or
Yeah, Barkle.
There's a couple of them that I have to have them sign,
So I don't
'cause they
think we
didn't
should have
sign.
approved something that he didn't sign.
but he did sign the front page.
But he didn't sign the part where he's doing under penalty of perjury.
You guys wanna
I
think about
think-
it tonight, or more like at the next meeting?
I think it sounds
Probably
like,
January.
if anything, it'd be the next, yeah, January sounds good.
Joe?
I'm not gathering that anyone's ready to make a decision tonight.
Sure. But they are approved then, and what should we do in the meantime? Pay the full amount and hope we get a reimbursement back?
Well, they're not going to cash the check until after the first of the year.
Sure.
So that gives you a little time and gives the commission a little time to think about it, and perhaps the two new people to think about it as well.
So we shouldn't wait on,
We don't wanna go through the application license all over again.
Yeah, I mean,
and
No,
then
no,
we
no,
need
no,
to
no, no, no.
renew.
No, I think
No,
the
you've already
renewals.
here. Yeah,
That's
that's already good.
Oh, okay.
The question is
renewal
whether or
and
not
the
there
fee.
would be any proration for the 2022 delay by the Department of Health. Because
Sure.
we have no control over the Department of Health, nor do you.
No.
no. And again, not pointing fingers, everyone was scrambling, it was a whole new,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So I would say, the renewals are here, make the payment, it won't be cashed until January. And
We'll see what they decide, I guess.
see what, yeah.
So that, like, do we need to bring that up to another point of, like, you just put it on automatically on a thing?
No, you have to fill out one of those little
For January,
things
so we're, yeah.
and give it to the auditor's
Oh,
office.
okay.
You know, to push it on to two new commissioners.
I think that's
I don't-
fair.
I don't think it's fair.
Well, it was fair from when they did it to me.
And I think
You could handle it, Wanda.
and Don's probably right. I think the question is some time gonna potentially change minds or not? And I don't know if that's true.
I know when we were
I would
right,
say we should have a firm answer before the end of the year, though, before the checks would be cashed.
I know when we were writing the ordinance, and in several places here, it says non-refundable $5,000 application fee. And when we did that, there was concern that people would apply and then not want to go through it, and it would have some costs onto the county for the advertising and the hearings and all of that. And I know it says it on each one of these applications. It's a non-refundable application fee. I mean, I suppose we could go against that, but I don't know if that's.
I would
That's
say
what
for
we wanna
now,
do or
we
not.
move forward and, I would say get in contact if you wanna
When you
persuade
say-
anybody.
When you say that you don't know, I mean, everyone kind of has their mind up, is there further discussion on it amongst you, or does everyone you feel it should be paid?
It wouldn't be, there won't be any more discussion amongst commissioners. It would be between commissioners and applicants from here till the end of the year. And
What
at
I would,
that point, it could get put onto an agenda and
what I would suggest, Joe, is that we put it on the agenda for the next meeting and not make these folks worry about whether they're gonna get some money back. They'll either know they will or they know they won't before the check is cashed.
I agree. It needs to be
So let's
done
put it
before
on
the end of the
next-
year.
The next meeting, and
Okay.
Which is when?
Whenever you guys decide.
It's the 20th.
We've got a
weeks from today.
regular
Yep.
scheduled on the 20th, so
Okay.
it'll be on the 20th agenda. And so you'll know with certainty at that point.
Sure. Thanks.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, back to item 15, social media.
Since it's included in the packet, can't I just move to insert that in the handbook?
Oh, and essentially, so it's a new section 314, and in the 3 weeks since we last talked about it, no feedback or changes. So this is essentially the same document you saw 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so can't I just make a motion?
You can make a motion to.
I'd make a motion to insert the new section in section 314 as set forth in the packet that was provided.
Second.
Motion is second, further discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
Dan opposed?
Yes. Okay, on to item 15A, overtime for Department of Equalization. I've had some conversations with Michelle, trying to keep up on where they're at as far as deadlines for the state. They have building permits to finish, splits to finish, and intentions are due December 31st. They have 4 people in the office out of the 6 that they should have, and that has been that way for quite some time. They are exempt employees, and in our handbook, I don't have it pulled up. I'm going to paraphrase. In the handbook, it essentially says exempt employees may be required to work, odd hours, some overtime here and there. It's factored into their salary. I did reach out to Alternative HRD, and they said in a situation like this, there's nothing saying we cannot, as a commission, approve overtime for a specific department. And they just advised it would be for a specific department for a specific reason, such as short staff. So Michelle has requested, I know not all of her staff would be available to work overtime, but she's asked a couple times if they can. I know she has been coming in and putting some extra hours in. And so I guess my thought is it would be fair to anybody in that office that is trying to get these deadlines completed, that we would reward them for that. I don't know what others.
Yep, and it's a staff of 6, and they only have 4 people, so they're trying to get the same workload done with 2/3 of the people.
And a lot of the people, quite frankly,
Are very new.
very new,
Yep.
and they're all learning together, and so I think it's warranted myself. Budget-wise, we haven't been paying 2 salaries, one being a director position for.
They have plenty of budget.
They have plenty of budget.
Yeah, so we haven't had a director for 3 months.
So you need a motion to pay overtime for the staff to get the intentions done, the building permits and the splits
Well, I wouldn't,
through December 31, 2022.
well, I wouldn't specify what they're doing, just
Well, he said we needed to.
Because they're
in the
short
office.
staffed.
Yeah.
Essentially
think
to
if we
allow extra hours to be worked. I hesitate calling it overtime because I'm not sure it's over 40 hours, you have to pay time and a half.
So I was gonna say
So it's,
Well, then I withdraw
We've
my
got-
motion.
I was gonna say, we can do it several ways. It can be done in a bonus, and that could be per hour. It could be done 1.5 times their salary, anything over 40 hours. It can be, we really can name whatever we want. I would probably recommend over, 1.5 times salary.
You recommend what?
I would probably recommend,
So-
just to be fair, because any hourly employee in the county that works overtime gets time and a half.
Unless
If
they
they're
gotta
over
work
40
over
hours.
40
If they're over
hours.
40.
Well, why not just authorize them? They have 4 people. They're supposed to have 6. Let them work 40 hours. That'd be it'd be like the equivalent of an extra 2 people working. The hours would be the same, and then you're not paying overtime, but you're just paying regular salary. Well, you start paying
Because
overtime at 40 plus
I
hours.
know that all 4 of them don't have that ability to work more.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be making it up that way.
So you wanna pay overtime for hour 37, starting at anything over 36 hours, you wanna pay overtime for?
I don't know, I would say,
Because it says in our handbook that we're not supposed to do that, I thought, but in excess of the standard 40-hour work week shall be considered overtime.
So the other option is just don't get the work done.
Well, we have to get the,
Yeah,
some of the
weren't
work
we
done
work-
for sure.
Weren't we working with the state to do that?
No, they will
We
not do
weren't.
our work
No.
for us.
Okay.
They
Have we
will
re-
serve as consultants and give guidance, but they will not do the work.
Have we reached out to other counties?
we do have, I don't see it, but it's on there, right? Executive session for a contract?
Personnel
Oh,
issue
that's
is what it
personnel,
is.
okay.
Well, and the reason being is I got a phone call this week from Minnehaha County Commission. Just an FYI, I guess Minnehaha's sending down some of their people to help us. I wasn't aware of it, I don't know if you guys are, but, some members are coming down to assist, does anybody else know about this, or?
So
No.
is Yankton
I
County
don't think
paying them or
there's-
Minnehaha
I have no
County?
idea, it was a
So
courtesy.
how do we know they're even coming?
It was a courtesy call from their commission, because he was surprised that he was doing that and asked if I knew anything about it, and I said I didn't.
I know that, Michelle reached out to other counties. The last she told me is that she reached out to Minnehaha and they said that they cannot do that.
Okay. From what I told it was happening, it could be wrong, but if our people are not experienced, you know, we have some newer people, maybe that would be a better option to reach out to some of the surrounding counties.
Well,
I
it's
guess-
December 6th.
And we're not
We
getting
have,
anything done.
A lot of work done by, I can tell you that all of it's not gonna get done, even with overtime by the 31st. I'll guarantee you that. The biggest probably concern with that is that's gonna affect, the county's growth. It's gonna affect the county's budget next year.
Well, there's, from what I have understand, there's different ways, you know, to do it. You can take a standard growth, you know, a certain percentage. I mean, there are different options is what was
Well,
explained
I
to
would-
me. You know, you could just do a standard, this is the growth we're taking,
Advise that you start working with Michelle to get that done then, Dan.
you know.
You can't take growth that you don't have, so you have to be able to prove your growth. You can't just say, ooh, I think I've got 10% growth, we're gonna take that.
Not to
Obviously,
mention, I
nobody's
think
gonna
the
You know, and
the
if,
Facebook stunt this year is probably going to have an increase in the number of appeals for next year. I'm guessing.
you know, and
So
if-
we need to have a leg to stand on. When they take growth, they better be able to defend it.
And even if we do have people from other counties come, we have to pay those people. We can't just abuse their generosity. And we still have to be the people signing it, so our person still has to be sitting there, doing the job with them and learning it. So in the end, does assistance from other counties help? Absolutely. But it doesn't solve the problem. We still have the core problem.
So when, for example, Patty needs help with elections, she hires someone because obviously her office is already working those hours. So in my mind, you're just looking at this as those individuals in the equalization office, because it has to be those individuals
Working more.
working more. So you authorize Patty to hire someone part-time during elections, you're hiring somebody part-time in the equalization office till the end of the year. And I think if you phrased it that way and then just determined how that dollar amount is gonna be figured out, they would then keep track of those hours that they work outside of their normal hours that they work in the office. The same way Patty does, it's just not a new person.
So, for example, if 3 of them stay until 8 o'clock at night,
they would put in
3 extra hours.
like whatever, and they would just keep track of that, and then you just determine the rate of pay, just like you do when Patty hires someone
Yeah, and it,
extra part-time, you determine a rate of pay.
yep. Because it needs to be done. And we can't kick this can down the road much longer.
No.
Nope.
So yeah, there's a option there. We can really do it any way we want. I mean, we can pay time and a half. We could say, here's an hourly rate. Anything over that is your bonus pay. You know, you pass 5, you work till 8, you get those 3 hours at that pay.
What do the employees expect, given the time of year that they're gonna do this and they're gonna put in these additional, what are they expecting?
I did not have that conversation with them. She's asked a couple times about overtime, and historically in the offices, they've kind of used comp time. I don't know if comp time, flex time, I guess is a better way, because they're exempt. So that's thus far what they have been doing. Pretty soon, they're gonna have a month off. And so when she's brought it up, she's just asked for overtime. I guess I did not clarify. I think I jumped to the assumption that it's probably time and a half. That's what I would expect if I was working overtime. But
We'd be paying that money if the other 2 people were here, so.
Correct.
It's not a money deal, let's just
Right.
get on with this.
It just
Right.
needs to be done.
yeah,
Because those other 2 people aren't there.
Can't
If those
can't
other
you
2
just-
people were there, we probably wouldn't need the overtime.
Correct.
Can't you just do a motion to, that the board agrees to pay overtime for work? And just
I think we have
explain
to
that this is-
specify if it's the rate, and then if it's over 36 or over 40 hours is probably
Overtime shall be paid at 1.5 times the employee's regular hour of pay. Section 608.
paragraph
Number
1
4.
applies to
Number
hourly
4.
employees.
Well, if we say we're gonna pay them overtime,
Well, we're not gonna say we're paying them
Okay.
overtime. We're
Okay.
going to pay them additional funds. Because they are exempt employees, much like detectives or firemen or whoever has to work to get their job done. How about that? Does that qualify? Because we're beating a dead horse here.
We are.
We are.
I would entertain any motion.
Well, I'll try again.
Start it with because of lack of staff.
Because
we have to justify it.
Because of lack of staff in the Yankton County Director of Equalization Office and the need to get things done before the deadline, which is the end of the year, December 31, 2022, I move that we pay our exempt employees up there additional funds in order to meet those deadlines.
We need to be specific on these additional funds, though. That's the thing.
I'm sorry?
We have to be specific on additional funds, though. That is the crux of it.
So 1.5 their current hourly rate.
After 40 hours.
why
okay.
do we have to be specific on the amount?
Because paragraph 8 there says overtime does not apply to exempt employees.
So then why are we saying pay overtime?
Because paragraph 8 specifically says we can't,
That
but
says
that
for-
is assuming normal work activities.
Yeah.
There's nothing in our handbook that defines outside of the normal work.
That's
So we
the
need
problem.
to specifically approve this.
Isn't that just for department heads though?
That's
Then you
the,
don't
No,
wanna put
anybody who is an
any
exempt
exempt
40 hours
employee.
in.
therein lies the problem
Because
with
of
the
federal
handbook.
law.
You live by the handbook, you die by the handbook.
So at the end of your, don't want you
Speech.
to repeat that again, are you good with saying, at 1.5 times their current salary,
Current hourly rate.
current hourly rate beyond 40 hours is what Patty
Yes.
wanted there. Perfect. I will second that.
Do you think it should be 40 hour, put 40 hours in there at all? Because
Why
that's what we
not?
do normally. If anybody's over 40, they get time and a half.
That's what you normally do.
Well, they shouldn't get time and a half for over 32.
Well, 1.5. No, they have to hit 40 before
I-
they get time and a half, like the highway.
I get that.
Yep. Okay,
So,
so we have a motion and a second.
motion, second, further discussion. So the motion, just to be clear, is due to lack of staff in the DOE, we move to pay exempt employees 1.5 times the current rate beyond 40 hours.
To meet deadlines.
Yep.
And are we gonna have an end date on it?
I thought the end date was December 31,
You did have-
2022.
She
Is
had
what it
that
is?
in there.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
Through December 31st. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Great.
2 minutes.
Oh, let's do something quick, like number 18, November 10,
Well, I think
we gotta-
Don needs to
2022.
take a-
We
Okay,
gotta-
go ahead and do that. I'll come
I
back.
move to approve the minutes from November 10, 2022.
Second.
Let's vote.
Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. I don't think we need to take an official break, but I think we'll just
Just hold off a
We'll
second.
just hold off a minute.
So Patty, you don't think that's a problem?
What's that?
That Mr. Barkle didn't sign his application?
I don't think.
No, we just, I didn't want it seriously. I
We'll
just
make
told
sure
them all to
Deb
come
gets
in,
on that. I know she's
just
watched you do
Fill out
that.
the front page, just get it done.
I'll scroll up. It's a stop button.
Okay.
One of them, like, the Valley works for now.
Big octagon.
And he didn't sign, yeah.
I mean, it.
Well, Mr. Eastman didn't do it.
Patty and I will figure it out. He's the one that's out of state.
Well,
Yeah.
Mike Barkle is not. He's just down the road.
No, he actually is out of town because he called me from his cell phone today.
Where his office is out of town.
Correct, but he's actually not in the area. For next year, I'll talk to Karen, we'll do October 1st or something.
Yep.
He'll be fine.
And we can send the forms to them and they don't have to come and get them and then we can go from there.
Well, they should can't they be on the website? Can't they just access them?
It could be, I kind of think, and, I mean, again,
Where
I
d-
can look at it. What I'd really like to do is just a one-page renewal, because right now it says renew is the same as the original application. But if there's been no changes to your, you know, who your business people are.
Well, but the other thing is they want to know those last questions like, do you promise not to sell to people under 21?
Right, but I'm saying, I think we could put together, Wanda, don't you think, like a renewal?
Can't you
packet?
just use the alcohol one, basically, as a format?
Could.
'Cause
Yeah. I've tried to find out what other counties were doing, I didn't find anything before tonight. I'll work on it before next October.
have you been to Elevate? Jeff Dayhoff's one?
Tyler took a tour of it.
I want to take a tour to see what it's like.
I have not toured it. I guess that he gives tours, so if you wanna see it.
What's it, is it just a dispensary or what is it?
It's a
Yeah,
just,
he just has a dispensary.
so was there any money on that? $725?
In jail or?
What?
It was $7.
Oh, yeah.
It varies.
You can artificially win that way.
Maybe a drink.
At the rate we're going, well, it'll be breakfast. We voted on that one.
Okay.
Do you want to do
Okay.
the November 15th?
Yeah, I think while we're here, we'll do November
Do
15th
you-
meeting minutes.
Do you want all in favor? Did you do all in favor?
I voted yes on the way out.
Okay.
Yep,
Yep.
I heard it. Okay, so November 15th, 2022 minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. We need to circle back to item 16, cost of living adjustment, 5 or
Yep.
6%. We're at, we budgeted,
Approved five.
approved 5, the city did 6. That's, unless someone wants to go higher, but that's probably the discussion right now.
And that's going forward, forever.
What's
Just
the
for
cost?
2023.
What's the
Okay.
additional cost from a 5%
Oh, you can't
increase
take it
to
away.
a 6% increase, Patty? Do you know?
1%.
So 1% is
What's
about
the cost?
$63,000, and that includes the
63.
FICA as well, and it's an estimate of the part-time people as well. So it's probably 65,000 is about 1%.
Does that sound about right, Patty?
We've had 2 weeks
Is
to look
that-
at it, so.
Yep.
Include
This
our
should be quick.
overtime
This should
people?
be simple.
Mr.
We-
Chairman, I'm asking a question.
I'm talking to everybody, Dan, that I'm just saying, I don't wanna drag this out. We knew this was coming, 5 or 6%, we should be able to make a decision. I'll say I'm in favor of the 6%. We have trouble staffing right now, we have a lot of positions open, we have trouble filling them.
I
I
just,
don't wanna lose more people.
I just want to clarify, it's for
For
2023.
2023, correct.
Okay,
So it would be just for the cost of living adjustment for 2023, yes.
Yeah, you have to do it every year if you want to increase.
okay, well,
Yep.
then I would move to approve a 1% cost of living adjustment up to the 6%, above the 5% that we previously discussed, for only the 2023 calendar year.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Okay, we're jumping around a lot, but we should be on to item 19, motion on American Recovery Plan Act.
And this one, we need essentially just read, if everyone agrees with that, so.
And that's just more for bookkeeping and to be it easy and, because I had talked to
Is that this one?
Yes.
The yellow one, yep. So, and then we'll have one meeting at the end of the year, correct, Patty, to do all our final transfers and such, and at that time, we can use whatever's sitting in there today for back salaries. And then that money goes from the ARPA fund to the general fund.
correct.
So I'd entertain the motion.
Let's see, I would move to approve the election of the final rule allowing counties to use up to 10 million of the American Recovery Plan Act, ARPA, as lost revenue for the provisions of the general government services without needing to use the Treasury Revenue Loss Formula. Also electing to use salaries and county paid benefits from the general fund as an expense of the American Rescue Plan in the amount up to 10 million.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Claims.
I move to approve the claims.
Second.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I got I wanted to note that our payment to the juvenile detention center was pretty good payment again this month. And NACO sent this package of information out about jails and various ways to lower the cost of the county on administering justice. And I would suggest that in the new year with our strategic planning that this be a major study and that we have our legal department review this material and be prepared to make recommendations on things that we might do to cut expenses.
You can make it a retirement county, no one under the age of,
I'm sorry?
retirement county, no schools, no one under the age of
I was
30
thinking more
allowed.
of house arrest with GPS monitoring.
But I agree,
there's a
Don,
ton-
that-
There's a
yeah.
ton of things in here that, you know, our legal system maybe doesn't have to put somebody in jail and incur those costs. And I'm all for putting criminals in jail.
Can you email me a copy of that, Don, or do you have a?
I
Gary?
think
Gary made this one for me.
I think as far as
be
juveniles go,
available
we only
online.
usually put the worst of the worst in there. We don't put everybody in there that could conceivably go. The judge puts most of those people on probation, diversion.
I'm just saying, Wanda, that we need to look at it and see if there's ways that we can reduce costs.
Oh, I'm all about reducing costs.
Okay, let's do that then. Let's do something strategic as a county commission and look at this.
You were all previously set the links, so you can look at it.
And what is
Okay.
it? What is the title of that page, John, or that study? It's
It's county guide for reducing jail
Okay.
population and costs.
And
Okay.
I hate to say it, but when they say jail, you know, juveniles are not put in jail.
There's a section in here that talks about juvenile. There's jail diversion.
Well, that's what,
Didn't we do
that's
that?
So-
what Boys and Girls Club does,
Just to-
diversions.
So we have a
you're not right
motion
about
and a
that.
second on the
Diversion is.
table here,
Oh, that's not.
just so we keep somewhat on track. But I agree, that should be something that you guys discuss in 2023.
I already moved
We
to
got
approve the
we got it.
claims.
So all those in favor, say aye.
Is this for the claim?
This is
I
claim.
had one clarification I
Okay.
guess I was waiting for. On page 32, the two-way solutions, minor equipment for the invalid department, what is that? $5,777.50.
Oh, I see, another.
Page 32.
Yeah.
That would be American Rescue Plan, and
That was,
was that Paul's?
Was that those state radios?
yeah, the rest
The
of the.
final one.
Okay. What, the ones we bought for the city of Yankton?
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Payroll, November 2022.
Move payment.
Second.
Don and Wanda. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. And there's a correction to the 2023 budget. What did I just do?
Yep, it should be 753,045.
Oh, okay.
It's on the very last of it.
Up from 678, 135?
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry. No, that's, there was a different amount that was approved because we had changed those. And,
Well, I'm just reading from my,
I know that's not the, I'm sorry, I don't have the original. amount.
The
for
753,045 is the correct amount,
Yes.
though.
It's a significant difference from what
This-
changed.
What you're
Well,
saying
I'm
is the
gonna have-
678,135 is not the one that changed from.
It was just added.
Okay.
So it was added wrong to be the 678, correct?
Yes.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah, but it
She
wasn't the
said no.
but it wasn't the 678. She's saying it was it came
I
to
get
be a
that,
different.
I get that, but on the picture that I have.
Yeah, I know.
It says that.
I know.
Okay.
I think it was the 680.
It was just a math error.
89,920 is what.
An $80,000 math error, roughly.
I talked to her earlier. All the line items remain the same. It just was she had the wrong.
It's just the math.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go back to 2019 when it was 446,000.
That would be nice.
Jeez.
While she's getting that, I'm gonna move forward on public comment. Would anybody care to make public comment?
You were just waiting for that.
I was, to tell you the truth. Jay Cutts, of course. Thanks, guys, for not bending over to the refund thing on a whim there tonight. Anytime somebody comes before the board and wants it right away, it kind of behooves you to move it off to the next month, so thank you for doing that. And the other thing I would say was, is that even feasible giving it back to them? I mean, I know there's a lot of county funds, once you pay it in, you're out of luck, so better check into that first. That's it.
That was the last part?
Did they make a motion?
No, we waited.
I can't find it. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Anybody else care to make public comment? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. And we did not make a motion yet on the budget.
Correction of the
But you
budget.
don't have that original amount that you had.
No, I had corrected it already and sent it to the state because they wanted it, so I didn't. And I don't know if you guys have a copy of the budget.
I didn't bring my budget with me.
I do not have my budget with me.
Well, I think Wanda said, since it's a math error,
It's
Isn't
just
it?
an adding, it's
it's
just
an
adding.
adding error.
Yeah.
It's
so
not an issue.
these are all the numbers that we got before. It was just a math
Right.
error.
I would
The
move,
amounts are all right. It's just the adding the total.
Yeah.
I would move to approve the correction to the state's attorney office budget for 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second to correct the state's attorney's budget office budget for 2023 in the amount of $753,045. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, commissioner updates.
Eight county meeting tomorrow.
Did you get the email that the address changed? Okay. Yeah, I'm not going either.
Any other updates? Okay.
I'd move to go into executive session for personnel issues pursuant to STCL 1-25-2 sub 1.
Second.
Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Oh, do we have to vote on this extra one?
No, that was
That's-
included with the
okay.
claims.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We are now in executive session.
Oh, thanks for sending that, Gary.
What?
Gary sent me that.
Oh, did you?
See, that, is that,
And then north and south has got 40.
yeah, I think, or no.
Maybe a
or-
short 40.
Or is it vice versa?
No, the long one is east and west. 'Cause that goes to the next, it goes a quarter mile past Ronnie's.
Yeah.
So it's not an 80, it's probably a 70 or,
No, see, there's, that out there, there's a 40 out of that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, because I can remember going up there, because it goes halfway across Lonnie, so there was a 40 there. And then is there a 60, because.
Well, I never thought about 60.
The Springs have got, there's like 100 acres maybe on the north side, and then Butch has got 60.
Where's the corner of?
See, that, north end of Butch's. Because Ronnie's, 80 comes up, and then 80 comes up. But see, that goes way back to the days when Matt,
Yeah.
and there was Melvin, and Ray, and
Yeah.
Howard.
Well, isn't that the McManus farm though?
Well, but see, there's a 40 out of the Manassas where that greenery, or
Yeah,
that
yeah.
corn crib is.
Because that's the McManus, I think that's what he always called that, is the McManus, yeah.
And see, that's where, because I was thinking, we went past Howard's, but it was weird, because if you went east, then you got over into the Petersons.
Yeah.
And the Auni, well, not Auni. What's that? That's third generation or more now too.
Oh, and Audi.
Yeah, I mean, because Auni's never owned.
No, that's Svensson, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that, yeah. And because that's entirely different people on it now than what I used to,
Sure.
remember years ago. But, because we walked over there hunting, and we went through, ours, because that was the first quarter, and then we went, I think, through, and we had to be real careful when we got over to Peterson, because he was a cranky old guy, and if he saw us, we could trouble him. And I mean, this is when we were
imagine what that would've been like? Oh, God.
Of course, they probably, I don't know, they might have done.
They probably burned
Horses
it
and a
off.
horses and a pitchfork.
They might have burned it off too.
You know, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if, of course, there you get now who got their hay moved out before, you
Yeah, I
know,
know.
cause they, a lot of times they
Wow.
stacked it.
Yeah, but I think they moved that.
Yeah,
stuff
they usually
out of there.
took that home.
If you got it put up down there, you probably moved it out.
Because then when you got, then there was Risling's, they had an X80. That was the one that, Broderson,
Warren?
no, well, yeah, Warren had the 40 down, or towards the end, under 20, that was where the ditch went through. But, oh geez. He lived up on the hill, you know, just to the west of the road, the oil road going up the hill. God damn it. His wife was kind of half-assed, because he was delivering a calf one
They
day.
all, anyway.
No, but he sent his wife, it was getting dark, and he was trying to deliver this calf. So he sent her in to get a light, and she comes out with a light, a lamp out of the house, not a flashlight. You know,
Never worked.
but that was $100 he paid for that, because there was Bill Bain and Vic and Verge and Dad and I, and, oh, God damn it. Earl. Because, see, there was Warren's, that was a lady that owned that, you know, because that was on the west, or the east side of the oil road. He must have had going down below and above, I think he had like 240 acres, didn't he?
I have no idea.
Because he never did sell the, and Gus did still run cattle on that, up on top. There's like an 80 up there with that dam in it. And then he's got the pasture that's around the curve. And they never did, they split that up.
Where'd the state get the land for the game preserve? Was that given to them?
No, okay, Martin Slim, you know, he was a tax assessor, he was a banker in Ballin, but he had 240 acres down there, and he sold it to the state. They got,
Some kind of a deal?
well, they got money for hunting, or, you know, reserve them. And, okay, cause he had the 80 on the west side, and the 80, or did he have more than 80 on the east? I mean, on the west
I
side.
think it's more than 80 on the west side.
I think there's 160 on that, and then 80, cause 80,
I don't know.
because John David's, there was an 80 where kind of where the ditch goes through.
Yeah,
That,
that's probably all split up in there somewhere.
yeah, because the ditch is sold, the one guy, had the ditch right away on the south side of the on both sides of the ditch, so they didn't put it in the middle, and so, when, Johnson, Steve, when he bought the Donovan land up on top, well, he got like 50 foot on the south side, from the
South side.
center line, and
God.
because see, I think that was at least a 50 foot, you know, I mean, there
Right away.
and then Ron Hessler, he bought, but, so he had the ditch bank, the only good chunk on there he could get, cause, and I don't know if Steve farmed that very much, or, because then it went down to Hazen's, you know, that's where the lateral went through and kitty cornered into whoever had it, they, because sometimes the water would come back a little bit through the floodgate a little bit. So they built a dike up on the end of it.
Sure.
And
That makes sense.
except it held the water on them. Yeah. So it had to go back, and the only way they could get, there was a culvert. The culvert was on the west end, so they had to, next to the lateral, they had to run it that back on half a mile uphill to get it in. Because, yeah, what's his name, the, banker, but he got a drag line in there and, you know, he was trying to do that to drain it. But he ended Cause then you,
Probably was, because the Stanage ground was north of Linus.
yeah, there was an 80 here that Carl bought, that,
Yeah.
that now, did Carl sell that to?
Him and Gary swapped. for the-
Yeah, they swapped, because he took the one down by Charlie's, that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird how somebody would rent their whole life.
Yeah.
Well, Freeland Audi,
Well, yeah,
same thing.
and it, way more years.
Way more years, probably.
90, because I don't know when he started, but he was over 90, wasn't he, when he died?
Yeah,
But he probably, but he raised his whole family there.
family there, yeah.
Because as long as I can remember, which is, 70, over 70 years, going up to Howard's, and that was,
Yeah. It's just, you just don't know how. Having all the family moved away, it's,
yeah, because were they out in Colorado or West, or California or someplace? I mean, they were,
I don't know where that one, Berkeley's the same way,
well, yeah.
Nelson's there. Moved away to the East Coast and never came back.
And, because I rented Morris
And
Nilsson.
COVID, so they all died off, nobody married each other or whatever.
Because they weren't that far long out of Norway, were they?
Yeah, that I can't.
Because I think the one along the Walshtown, I thought, was that Ted?
Think so. I think that's, yeah, that makes
But he
sense.
was he a bachelor, or they didn't have kids?
Well, I would guess that was a nice ass house, I'm guessing they didn't have kids.
Yeah.
Cause he wouldn't, bachelor wouldn't have that house. That was a nice house.
Yeah, well, I bet, I mean,
That was a nice house.
but I don't think they built it, I think he bought that.
He
didn't
might
he?
have. I really don't have a clue on that, I just
Yeah.
remember, I was over there once before Liz bought it, cause I was helping butcher cows over there or something.
Oh, yeah.
And, I just went in there and peeked in there and I just thought, 3-story house.
Because Betty Highland used to do, I think, some book work for Ted, or work with, because of the banking for the estate, because the money had to go, or maybe some of the money went to, there might have been family.
Family, I'm sure there's
I
family
think there
somewhere.
was, yeah.
Yeah, and then it got subdivided up that they finally said,
Well, basically, that in the old country, in Norway, the firstborn son got the land, and
Yeah.
everybody else had to fend. Well, pretty soon, there was, there wasn't a whole lot of, they started going,
yeah.
well, God, what was the guy up there at Irene? That's the cemetery, but he owned damn near all of the ground between Irene and Viber.
Oh, yeah, that dude was mausoleum up there, yeah.
Yeah, but he brought people
Over to work for him.
Yeah, and he set them up and helped them get, so they could, settle on the land. He did a lot of people there. And then a lot of them sold it to him, but they
Yeah.
worked for him.
Yeah, came and settled on a piece of ground and then he
Yeah.
bought it off them for
Yeah.
little or nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because someplace, and I'm not sure which one, but great grandpa, I think in that first mile south of Valley View, he had, I don't know if he had a quarter or just an 80, but then he was in there, but then he got the land down on the bottom.
Oh,
And then he bought that, and, and those 280s on the south side of the road, and then the quarter, because I got the paper from the deed from Ulysses S. Grant.
Grant.
Yeah, the sign, and that had to be in the late 60s or 1870.
yeah, 60s or 70s when they were having the land
Well,
grants.
because,
I don't remember exactly when that was.
was yours Well, see, he was pretty early. The girls were in grade school, and Dorothy, I think, was in high school. Right, or that, because
Same way with, what's his name, Dan's friend, Commission Health, because I can just barely remember him. Della's husband.
oh,
Don't ask me.
yeah, because he had the three boys.
Yep.
And
All of them were brothers.
yeah. Well, yeah, because the Hansons, that was brothers there,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he was, let's see, okay, because I can remember, because evidently he like didn't mind drinking a little bit,
No.
but he, Ray McGorian had a daughter my age, and she was sledding down the hill there, and he came over the hill and ran over and killed her.
Really?
Yeah, right there on Main Street.
On Main Street there?
Yeah, but that was when, that was probably, I don't know if we were 10 years old, so that's somewhere between 65 and 70 years ago, I think, when that
What's
happened.
the story on this?
Yeah, 'cause that, and I don't even remember what her name was, but that was another girl that we had. That, and I suppose that was kids that were in Mission Hill sledding and stuff like that. And God, that was, because the three boys, what's the youngest one? Floyd.
Oh, Floyd Hanson. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, Floyd, because I can just barely remember him.
Because there's, the one was, he's a few years younger than I am. And then,
His boys.
yeah.
Roger's
the oldest.
Roger's the oldest, he's dead.
Yeah, and, the one's married to Dorothy Olson.
Yep,
LaRue, and
Mylan.
yeah. Yeah, 'cause LaRue, well, God, LaRue's gotta be in his 80s now.
Well,
Yeah.
so was Mylan, I think.
No, Mylan's younger than I am.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I wanna say that he could be pushing 70 though. Because,
Well, yeah, him and Lou are the same age.
yeah, I think so, yeah. Cause he moved out of the country and came back. Cause I can remember when I was, I don't know if I was barely in high school, but, well, when I had that horse, and I remember Mylan and Janet Hansen and Bob Erickson, and there was like 3 or 4 of them. They'd been out, I think they rode out to the some of the ground out in the bottom.
Yeah.
And because that would have been, and Bob, because Bob would have been East Michigan, he was on the Erickson.
Erickson farm, yeah.
But I can remember because they come and they stopped the place and watered their horses and that.
Sure.
Because Janet, I think she's just about mine. Because she was the oldest, and then there was, she had 2 brothers, right? Because the one lived in Morris Nelson's, rented it, and he had marijuana plants growing in the house.
That was quite the drill there.
Yeah. that was it, that was in the house. Well, God.
Old gal named Mary something really living there one day.
Well, Mary Smith, but she lived over, across from Floyd Hansen.
Yeah.
That was her ground.
Yeah.
She had a 40.
Yeah, it was close south, on the south, kind of the south side of it.
Yeah,
where the creek-
because now was, see, that was,
Was that Mary Smith?
yeah,
Okay.
because she was, what's his name's girlfriend, when they lived by the town hall in Ballin.
Oh.
Because that was, well, they used to be north of Valley View. And I think that 10 acres that was, it's right across from the driveway on Leroy Place.
Oh, yeah, there used to be an old house.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
there's a 10 acres that Stanley had.
Oh.
And, oh, well, it was, I think, oh, God. God, what was his name? Cause he worked for Merle Lee, shelling corn. Cause I don't know if he ever bathed or, if they didn't, I don't even know if they had running water. He might have had a well out there. But and his wife was, and they had 2 kids, cause I can remember picking those kids up on the school bus. And Julie was right, and Julie was probably not too far from their age. But once they got out of high school, they left. Yeah, they got out of it, cause
Yeah.
oh, shit. I don't think it was his name.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Because he was the one that choked Mary, killed her. I mean, he killed her in the place there. Because it wasn't very long after that, because Freeburg was kind of buddied up to him and was doing that. And I remember looking the railroad, and I'm going, what the hell's going on? And I'm going, God damn it, that's, oh, God, I can't think of his name. But, and then I thought, there's this guy coming down the railroad, because there was a guy walking on the railroad right away. And then I looked up, shit, that was Freeburg. And he walked just about into right straight to the south of the, cause he was over by Mission Hill and he was going back to Vollen. So he was taking a railroad track back, and Freeburg got him in and got him in, and got him in. Because of the cops.
Oh.
The sheriff or whatever.
Whatever.
Because, well, there was nothing much they could do.
No. They were both half goofy.
Yeah. Because they lived, Mary lived with them part of the time by the town hall too.
Oh,
In
really?
Mullen, yeah. Cause that was,
That's just when I was a youngster, so.
yeah.
Probably wasn't paying much attention to that.
No, because they were, cause he was doing that cause he was working for Merle.
Sure.
And his wife, she was talking to the ladies down at the cafe or whatever it was, and she said, yeah, Mary, or no, I don't remember, I think it was his wife got sick, but she had to crawl over both her husband and Mary to go out because she was throwing up and had diarrhea. And it was, and
Yeah, more than I wanted to know.
yeah. Because I was, when Lise put that first house in next to the hall, and that was the second one. And they dug and they buried some stuff the town had, and we digging, and then there was gravel there. But there was, and then there was boards and wire and like bed frame and stuff like
Good
that.
stuff.
Because that had never been, I don't know if anybody had ever had anything couple houses there. Cause that was Darrell Peterson, he had that one, when it caught on fire, and he had reloading supplies in the attic, and they were going in and trying to get that put out, and how much, cause, I mean, cause he had, you know, the cans of powder, yeah, powder, he must have had a half a dozen or a dozen things in there. But it didn't blow up. It burned up pretty, but he still lived in it. I mean, he. After it burned up? After it burned, cause it was just the one part, the kind of, the top, cause it wasn't too much of a house, it was just a little house, you know, with like a lot of those 2-3 additions on it.
Yeah, everybody brought a summer kitchen in or.
Yeah, but I mean, this was like a porch, and then,
Yeah.
cause part of it was.
Where you had it under.
Yeah, and cause part of it was like, upstairs, and that's where it was like an attic
Yeah.
almost, and that was where he had his loading supplies and that.
Yeah, it's amazing them old houses, how many additions they made to them.
Yeah.
You can see it's just one different house or two different buildings they put together.
That's, you know, like the house I grew up in, that was, well, that was back, and I don't know if it was grandpa or if it was great grandpa, but that was a log cabin right across from Hupkins. You know? And the south, it was 14 by 24. And that was it, but it had like a porch, and the upstairs, you know, there, because there was a door that went outside, because there was, a walkout porch, because the door went there, and there was about 100 foot of wire, number 9 wire, that you could, and a pulley on each end, and that was where they dried clothes. You know, there was, well, and they actually had a chemical toilet in there too. You know, but they had the good outside one.
Yeah, they had the outside one.
The tub that was in there, the drain on it just went out through the wall.
Through the wall.
Yeah, and, and it was a, you know, clawfoot, well, which was very nice, but, you know, that was.
Yeah, it was like down at my house, you know, they put the two clay tiles in for the septic tank. You know?
Yeah.
And they dug the well pit at the same time. So the two clay septic tiles were sitting right here, and the well pit was.
Right next to it. Okay.
Well, you know, if you dig a hole, you might as well, you know, board it up right.
When they did it, the artesian well was probably about 50 or 60 foot west of the corner of the barn. And it was just a little, and then there was a chicken house. Well, the wall in the chicken house, there was a line, pipe went in, and they had, you know, one of these about this long, and so the chickens could sit on it, and drink out of it, the water ran through there, so they had to run, and then that went over to the tank, you know, and then the other end of it, it went into the house, there was another one.
Didn't make it into the house.
But that was where they had the lead pipe, you know, no, it made it all right through the house, and then it went out, and I didn't realize it, but Bondon, my uncle, you know, Melvin, he had a green thumb, and he grew, I mean, there was flowers and everything around that, and there was a boat they used to have out in there, but they had picnics, church picnics on that, in that big pond. It was a couple acre pond.
Pretty good sized pond.
Yeah, and I mean, it was deep too. I mean,
of course, down there the water didn't go anywhere.
no, but and it was 1.25 pipe, lead pipe, because when we did some work on there, we tore up some of it. But it went over into the house, and then it went through, and then that drained out there. But, you know, I suppose when it was new, it was either a 3 or 4 inch main pipe coming out. Yeah, well, they kept that full. And my uncle, because I think it's still there was an oak tree, because there was, you know, all sorts of fruit trees, and, you know, that whole grove was filled with fruit trees and vines, grapevines. Because them goddamn grapevines were that big. I can remember walking on them as a kid, and they had plum trees, and they had a few apple trees, and that one big oak tree, and that's a beautiful tree. They must have taken care of that. But the squirrels replanted some. There was a couple of oak trees that came up over by the road, over in the grove where they buried them. You know, it was amazing back then. And there was, and out by the water tank, or out by that pond, there was, it was, I think, 2 sets of hives. You know, you know, they raised their own honey.
Yeah. Most of them, that's what they're doing,
Oh.
they're raising enough food for the family. And
Oh, yeah, I mean, and then
you didn't have much extra cash.
then they had those catalpa trees, and I don't know why they had them things, but you know, them huge leaves.
Yeah.
And the big pods, there was a row of about 6 or 8 of them. That was part of the, you know, when, I suppose, they had, you know, the hired man, they did chores, you had kids and.
We always had a hired man or a hired girl.
Yeah, but most of the time, I can remember Dad had a hired man and Mom had a hired girl. Because when Dad had got a hired man, well, Mom had to have somebody else to do that.
Somebody had to feed them and take care of
Yeah.
them. Oh, yeah.
And mother was a school teacher, not a.
So, I mean, it's.
Well, of course, she was a she actually was earned money before I was born. Because she was pregnant with my brother in 45. That was the last year that they had school at Berkeley down there. And then.
Berkeley, where was Berkeley?
Okay, you know, when you go east along Upton's and ours, you cross the railroad tracks, you go to the mile line, then you went straight south, and it was right on that corner. East of Williams, and there was a
Down
farm.
by,
Miller's.
yeah, Miller's down there.
Yeah. And see, there was a farm place right across on the south side of the gravel road there too, and I don't remember if that was Berkeley's maybe. Because see, there's some 40s and 80s down there, but I think that was, because I can remember that's when I was in grade school that they took the grove out, and when they got to the big trees, they blew them out with dynamite. They put in, I don't remember which one, it was one of the last ones, but they said they put a whole case of dynamite in there because they figured if they didn't put enough in, it would, you know,
Make a big hole
It'll
and
make-
don't ever get the.
they'd never be able to get anything done. But but you'd sit up there and watch, and to see a cottonwood tree that big jump up in the air. And because there must have been, I want to say 6, 8 of them that were that big, but right straight south of us. Exactly straight south, because they were, where bays,
Yeah.
But there's big cottonwood trees along there. I think they're right next to the road. There was, because it was Grandpa got, or great grandpa, he got, it was
Yeah, I'll have
the
it.
taxes on, the taxes on that 40 acres were $200 a year. And you didn't pay anything.
Are you doing the microphone button?
And then when he 46
Remember what time we went into executive session?
8:50.
Oh, sorry, Don.
That's all right.
Deb, would you hit the microphone? But,
And then do the red.
because I think he usually turns the microphones off. Shh, wait a second, we gotta wait for the microphone.
Are we
It
on?
takes a little bit for
Can
him
you
to kick
open that
in.
door more, Deb? I can tell you, or do you know, oh, yeah.
There you go, now they're working.
I'd move to go back into regular section.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We are now back into regular session. No action was taken as a result of executive session.
Move, we adjourn the meeting?
Hold 1 second, sir.
Items for the next.
Items for next meeting. We need to, can you put on interim director for Department of Equalization? Please.
And did we decide we needed to do something for advertising for veterans?
I think we need to.
Okay.
And for the
veteran
next,
service officer.
for next sec, yeah.
You haven't done that yet, have you, advertised?
No, because
Okay.
Cody hasn't, we haven't done, are you gonna accept his resignation or just?
I don't know that we have a choice. He's leaving town.
Yeah.
Do we, I don't,
His last day is December 20th.
Yeah. He already told me. If we don't do that, I can start tomorrow and put it in there tomorrow.
Well, might as well start.
do we need to make, officially accept his resignation?
I guess, we did that, we didn't do that with the other ones, did we?
Oh, okay. So we'll get that position opened.
Would you like Don and I to interview those initial screening for the Veteran Service Office like we did last time?
Assuming we have any applicants?
Cody said that
Say we get
he's got
applicants and
3 or
see.
4 people that have expressed
Interest.
interest.
And if, for that, the job requirement, you have to be a veteran, and by South Dakota law, we have to give each veteran an application, or an interview.
We have to,
So-
we have to interview.
You interview them, so.
Well, can't they just
Okay.
come to the auditor's office and ask for an application?
Well, let's just see what we get for applications and we'll go from there. Anything else for next meeting?
What's the date?
20th.
December 20th.
20th? Okay.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Don, I had a question. When were we meeting with?
Oh, that's,